All right, I think we're live. Welcome everyone to Thursday night Jimmy Rustling. Now, as you probably all know, I usually do these monthly podcasts on Friday because it's just more convenient that way. But as it so happens, this month, the only Friday that I was free happened to fall on an Easter weekend. And well, I was out of town for Easter weekend, so I was unable to do the Friday night shitposting that I typically do. So you're going to have to settle for a Thursday night Jimmy Wrestling. It's going to be just as good, I promise. Now, as I said to a couple people before, I do have a special guest with me tonight. Coming all the way from his JIDF stronghold in Budapest, Hungary, I would like to welcome the one and only Bane of the White Race, Mr. George Soros. How are you doing, Mr. Soros?
I will tear your soul apart, feeble white man.
All right, then. George Soros, everybody. Say, George, I noticed that your voice sounds a bit hoarse. Do you need a throat lozenge or anything before we begin?
No.
Very well. Have it your way. Now, I know that for tonight, you requested that I fill a chalice with the blood of white children. Now, I have to admit that I really tried to find you some, but the blood of white children is not easy to come by. So I got you the next best thing. Last night, I went out and I shot a seagull with my .22. I drained its blood, and I put it into a glass for you. So you're going to have to live with that.
The Soros must feed on the blood of white children.
Well, you can be responsible for that yourself. I don't want to be charged with first-degree murder or anything. Now, before I bring some people on, I would just like to ask you a question, Mr. Soros. Now, as we all know, you are at the ripe old age of 85. Now, typically, what folks do when they get into their twilight years is that they settle down, they spend more time with their grandchildren, they might move into a retirement home or move down south to Florida, or whatever people do. But you don't seem to be doing any of that, Mr. Soros. In fact, you seem to be more intent than ever on pursuing this agenda of white genocide and globalism. So I was just wondering, why is that?
I must avenge the 6 Gorillion.
Oh, I see. You're still upset about that whole Hitler thing. Well, if it's any consolation, Mr. Soros, they just opened up a new Holocaust memorial museum near my house. So, my town's been thoroughly enriched by diversity.
Your town is about to be overrun by kebab.
That may be so. It seems that things are going that way. Now, if any of you good people out there would like to come on to this podcast and ask Mr. Soros a question, the link to this broadcast will be in the description, as always. So I encourage you to come on, and yeah, anybody's welcome.
That was genius.
In the description, as always. Hey, Nero.
That was genius.
What was genius?
That was fucking genius.
Guys,
Can you hear me?
I'm gonna bring Danilo, the Brazilian.
Can you guys hear me?
Oh yeah, of course.
Well, do you have a question for George Soros?
Yes. On a scale of 1 to 10, how Jewish are you?
14.5. 1.88.
Holy
That's nice.
shit!
That's pretty Jewish, Mr. Soros. I think you broke the scale.
Yeah, he did.
I'm bringing the Brazilian dude in here.
Oh, I
bringing-
gotta send the link to a friend. Oh shit, I forgot to.
Yeah,
Send your link.
invite whoever you want. I know that there's a limit for these sorts of broadcasts. I think it's like 10 people.
10. All right.
Yeah.
So it's,
Yeah.
Only invite people in if you know that they're going to say something.
Yeah, don't invite people who are just going to be mute throughout the entire thing. They're completely worthless to the video.
Nero, that's you who interrupts the whole thing.
oh,
That's
shit.
true.
Wait, can
No,
you hear me?
because Nero likes being edgy. That's just how he is.
So, how is everybody?
Great.
Easter?
This is wonderful.
Wait, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Luis.
Oh, can next month's guest be since you live in Canada, can you actually contact a Holodomor survivor? Because I heard there's a lot of them in Canada.
Oh god, he's gonna.
There are quite a few of them, actually. Actually, there is a Ukrainian
I'm
retired.
gonna send to a few more things.
So I'm sure I can stroll
What's up,
on down
Danilo?
there and ask one of those survivors to come onto my podcast. I'm sure they wouldn't mind. Although I'm pretty sure they wouldn't really understand what was going on. They wouldn't get our memes.
Hey, Danilo, meet everyone.
Hey,
Hey, Janine.
Oh, Gator's here.
Is it true? Oh wait, hi in Portuguese is oi, right?
yeah.
Who invented
Dresden?
Portuguese? Because
Hello.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
like
fucking-
You fit 2 more people.
Yeah, I think we've reached our limit, actually.
Yeah,
Well,
wait, how many people can join Google Plus? I thought it was unlimited.
no,
it's kind of
only
it
There we
depends.
We must the blood of the white
It
devil.
depends.
Resistance is futile.
Did you enjoy seeing my dick?
No! Soon your racket's nothing but a mere memory.
But hey, at least I'll say some Soros because I'm Hispanic.
You mean
George Soros!
Yes, George.
Soros!
Yeah, George Soros is hinting to me that his voice is getting a little bit tired. He can't stay for very long. So if anybody has any questions for the esteemed Hungarian gentleman, you better ask him now.
What will happen if the U.S. invade Hungary?
What would happen if the U.S. invades Hungary? What would happen if that happened, George Soros?
The U.S. will become part of Israel.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh no!
I don't think you want that.
As much as I like Israel, I don't think I want that either. I'm not necessarily. I'm not Jewish.
Isolationist foreign policy when it comes to Hungary.
Space boogie.
I have a question for George Soros in regards to something that really isn't political.
Shoot.
Are you a fan of this TV show?
Which TV show? My Little Pony?
Oh, Prince of Bel-Air.
Yeah, George Soros, are you a fan of that show?
I like it because there's no white people in it.
There's no white people. Jadev.
That's a pretty succinct answer, Mr.
Hey, what does George Soros think of David Serini?
He's meddling with Israel's plans.
Oh my goodness.
We're bringing David
Who's
Serini.
your
Thank
historical
you.
hero?
Our alt-right
Yeah,
hangout.
yeah. Those two guys we're planning on bringing David Serini in for the next alt-right.
Yeah, he says he'll probably come in at midnight.
That's cool. Well, I mean, yeah, he's welcome to come on to this stream if he desires. I'm sure he's probably busy drinking whiskey and
And smoking cigars right now.
I thought Arena was always more along the lines of those guys from Return of Kings. I didn't think he was particularly political.
well, he does some political content, but yeah, I know he's deeply involved with the Manosphere. He's friends with Matt Forney and I think Roosh and all those other characters.
And I also might bring Christopher Cantwell into our alt-right hangout.
You're gonna try that? He's pretty big though. He's pretty famous. So
Well, the thing is, I've already talked to him.
Yeah, I think that Christopher Cantwell is busy.
These people got to get thrown out of fucking helicopters.
you got. That's a good drop, man. That's a good one.
Yeah, what is it about you, Sensei? You seem to get all the interesting people. He's got a magic allure to him or something.
Yeah.
I want to know what you're paying these guys.
Only in shekels.
That's kind of
I have
true.
one more question for
If Mr. Soros is around.
Sora.
Make it quick, Coyan.
Who's your
I
historical
had a
hero?
question, but Louise.
Who's your hero?
Who's Mr. Soros's hero?
Yeah.
Benjamin Netanyahu.
Okay, what would he think of? What does Soros think of people like me?
He's mixed race.
Oh, well, I mean, let's see. What do you think about race mixing and mixed race people, Mr. Soros?
It's good if it destroys the white race.
I don't think that's the answer. I don't think that's the answer.
Hey, but you guys want to know what you guys are doing here? You guys.
Soros.
Don't forget to watch Bella and the Bulldogs, Goyam.
Wait, Soros.
I
have
watch
a question for Soros again. Now, I know you try to be mature, but we know what you're like in the real world, and I'm just wondering, on your spare time, do you watch this show?
You mean, does he watch Thursday Night Jimmy Wrestling?
No, you didn't hear the theme song?
Okay, Bob the Builder.
Yeah, do you watch Bob the Builder, Soros?
No, I'm too busy reading the Torah.
Can you play that? Can you play
I
that?
thought you read the Talmud.
Well, Soros is really into the both of them right now.
Well, the Talmud's one of the works, but the Torah is like the primary kind of. Then you have like the Talmud's one of the other things. It's like how the Muslims have the Quran. They have the Quran and they have like one.
But Delta, if you actually read a lot of what these Jewish scholars have to say, they'll tell you that to some degree the Talmud is actually superior to the Torah.
Really depends on which sect of Judaism you ask. You do have a lot of those people.
But isn't Orthodox Judaism the most popular form of Judaism?
Not just
like,
more
isn't
liberals.
Isn't like 95% of all Jews Orthodox?
Where'd you get your sources? If you got it off a Nazi website, then...
I don't look at Nazi websites. I was just hearing some statistics somewhere while at the library.
A pack of trolls seem to be obsessed with me.
Guys, at times I feel like we're living inside an
Oh, we kind of are already.
Wait, can you play that? Can you play that Rescue TV drop quote?
I'm gonna check my...
Hey, Dresden.
Is my mic louder now?
Yeah.
How do you feel about ending the white race?
I don't know. I kind of fall into that category, but
Cock!
I only fall into it by a percentage. You can here. How about this? You can end the white race when I'm dead. I wouldn't care after that.
Yeah, of course you would.
Yeah, cock.
No brain, no education.
Sorry, white people.
Wait, Tom, play that. Just play that drop.
Resistance is futile, white man.
Tom, play that drop that you were just playing.
They have no brains, no education, and no future.
I've heard of
What
that.
video was that? Which fucking video was that?
It's one of the videos, one of the thousands of videos he made where he's feeding the trolls. I can't remember exactly which one.
Oh, yeah. I mean, dude, for some reason, when he said they have no future, that reminds me of that song by the Sex Pistols. You know what song I'm talking about?
Future for you.
Oh, I know which video that's from. That's from the video the troll sets up another sock account.
You and a helicopter ride.
Beta cooked faggot losers.
Is that Christopher Getwell?
Yeah. I went on like a drop harvesting spree last night, so I have
Oh man, I picked up a few ones over the week, but I think everyone has that one.
Says a group of people are stalkers, proceeds to stalk the same group of people to the point where they will watch hours of live streams to prove that they are obsessed with them.
Can you get?
Yeah,
They're stalking me. They're stalking me. That's why.
Go fuck yourself.
You know, one thing I wanted to know, Nero, was why did you choose Nero himself as to be a figurehead?
I have no idea. The only thing I know is it's to piss off people like Delta. That's all.
It doesn't work because you're just edgy, so it's like I'm like he's an edgy child.
You're denying facts. You're denying facts. Stalin killed 20 million people.
The hell is that?
That's Mason. That's Mason Steiner.
All right. Speaking of pissing off Delta USA, I've been following this petty drama that Nero and Delta have been.
We already are on even terms. He said he's going to ignore me, and I'm going to ignore him, unless Delta is willing to bring back that drama.
Well, I mean, this whole drama it kind of raises an interesting point. I know that a lot of people who describe themselves as right wing have this policy where they refuse to attack other right wingers. I've heard it phrased as either don't punch to the right or no enemies on the right.
Leftists do the exact same thing.
What do you guys think about this? Do you think that if somebody on the right says something that you disagree with, is it okay to malign them publicly and create drama with them as you would with left wingers and people of opposite ideology?
Why do you think this drama started?
Well,
because you're both being petty.
Hey guys, you want to know what I think about all the dramas?
You don't like Christianity.
I mean, Lewis, what was your opinion on Delta's video response to me?
What?
I think it's pointless. Like, why? If you don't like a video, don't watch it, and don't like. Just debunk it because of the arguments they made. Don't because it's how stupid it was.
He said something about my camera. I'm like, okay, fair enough. I went back and I'm like, yeah, my screen cap was on half size.
I mean, because it was hypocritical and stupid at the same time for you to say, oh, I can't read your shit, but beforehand you read it anyway. So that's kind of a contradiction.
Guys, this is just.
Well, Nero, I have to be honest. A lot of the text on your videos is very difficult to read.
Yeah, but here's the thing about that. Delta read the entire text on that part perfectly well without any stuttering, and then he proceeds to say, oh, I can't read it at all. That's hypocritical and stupid.
Fix your lighting and either use because some of your pictures, they're like, or if you're responding to somebody, like it's either, I don't mind if it's like black and it's like white text, that's great, but not everyone can read, so it's kind of the point of it. It's like, not everyone
is the Brazilian...
I actually plan on getting Sony Vegas in the future, so I'm pretty sure that.
Okay, so you can fix that. That's.
Wait.
I just need to have the money to buy Sony Vegas.
Guys,
oh, you don't have any money.
Okay. Get back to the point I was making earlier.
Yeah, that's much more interesting to me.
Yeah. Okay. I know we've discussed this on previous streams, but we've talked about how compared to the left wing, especially on YouTube, the right wing YouTubers seem to be much more cohesive. They seem to be not so prone to conflict and petty squabblings as left-wing YouTubers. And I'm just wondering why you guys feel the need to create drama when we should be finding common ground rather than you're a Christ fag, fuck you. You look at the pike on a stick like. That doesn't get us anywhere.
Yeah, I've run into that with pagans. It's kind of
it breaks up.
I mean, Cater did bring this up though. Like, in that alt-right hangout, Cater brought up this one example of a homosexual who was like very right-wing, but when people found out that he was gay, he was like, okay, fine, don't give me so much shit. I'm going to be a celibate for the rest of my life. But even though he chose to be a celibate, meaning no sexual conduct whatsoever, right? Those people in that forum or whatever still attacked him just for being gay, even if he doesn't even act on it. They say, oh, you're degenerate.
Okay, hey, actually, this brings up an interesting point. I just want to make.
Wait a minute. Wait. Can we let Cater talk for a second? I want to hear what Cater has to say.
Hey, I just want to make a real quick point because it's based on what you just said. I noticed that the left wing constantly attacks people like us for, allegedly being homophobic. They seem to have this vision in their mind that, people on the right, whether they be conservatives or, anarcho-capitalists or fascists or whatever, they seem to think that, we all just hate homosexualities and homosexuals in general. But, I've yet to meet anybody who seriously thinks that homosexuality is some morally condemnable thing. People joke about it a lot, don't get me wrong. But
dude, I joke about it sometimes.
I think it's a bit of a straw man to say that, these right-wingers, all they do is they just hate homosexuals and they don't want gays to get married because they're homophobic and all this. But that's just a complete straw man, because I mean, like, there's nothing wrong with being gay. I'm pretty sure we can all agree with that, right?
Not Delta.
Not one. It's like except I object. It's called Christianity. I think I'm gonna leave it at my faith and other reasons alone. But there you go.
Delta, let me just ask. I know that you're opposed to homosexuality because of, there's a couple of passages in Leviticus that.
Not even just Leviticus. It's even like in Romans too. Like it's not.
However, I could go into a huge
all over the place.
argument with you about the translations and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, Nero, let me just make my point. There are many passages in the Old Testament, especially, that they basically prescribe these insane laws that nobody could ever follow. Like, I know one of them is that you're not supposed to wear clothing made out of more than one fabric. You're not supposed to build churches with uncut stone. Like, I'm sure that most Christians...
like the synagogues?
But Tom, here's the thing, though. Jesus fulfilled the law. He made it so that the Old Testament law isn't legitimate anymore. Of course, there's some aspects of the Old Testament that still are encouraged in the Bible if you took a 5-second reading of Paul's letters to churches, but that's besides the point. Most of the Old Testament's laws are no longer important, but there are some people who are worse than Delta who say that we should have a legitimate theocracy based on Mosaic law. And I have to say this,
like Sarah
everyone, raise your hand if you love bacon cheeseburgers.
I love bacon, so it's like I'm not pissed off at this point, child.
I don't eat anything greasy. Disgusting.
Yeah, I could do without the bacon.
You can't see my hand right now.
Oh, hold on, let me. Yeah, I like bacon cheese.
Wait, what?
Hey Danilo, what time is it in Brazil?
What's happening?
No, what time is
What's
it?
happening?
Oh, yeah.
What's happening, nigga?
It's 9:23 p.m.
It's an hour ahead of ours.
Yeah.
All right.
I was gonna say something to Tom. But he got into this whole thing.
Guys. Cater was gonna say something after I made that reference to what he said. Can we let him speak about that for a second?
Go ahead, Cater.
Yeah, actually, it's kind of no longer really particularly relevant, and it's not that important. But what is you're all kind of getting off on a bit of a tangent, because what Vlad was focusing on wasn't these sort of theological arguments within old scripture. He was more talking about the fact that the people who are vehemently opposed to homosexuality in and of itself as being something that's morally condemnable. It's a very, very small minority of people, and that is just, like you said, a straw man. And so, I'm sorry. Go ahead. No,
go ahead, Cater.
Oh,
okay. Well,
I was just Tom, but I'll let you guys go first. I had something to say.
I know that there are some people, like, to name one example, I know there's a YouTuber named Common Filth who he constantly makes videos about degenerates and degenerate lifestyles.
Everything's paused. That guy. Everything.
Everything seem like he's
is problematic.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like he's opposed to homosexuals per se. He's just opposed to degenerate, promiscuous lifestyles that are unsafe and unhealthy. That's why he opposes them, not based on homosexuality per se.
Well, that too, though.
I mean, like, I'm bisexual, but when I see gay pride parades, some of the things that they do in there is just gives us a bad name. It's absolutely retarded how they go use dildos at a civil rights themed parade. It's just stupid.
I know a lot of.
I was gonna speak. Yeah, I would agree with Vlad too. It's not even just like faith alone, but you could also say it's health because you get like the higher rates of AIDS and other shit.
Well,
like
to
that.
be fair, lesbians have the lowest rates of AIDS than any other sexual orientation, but
it's usually among guys. Like it's weird. I've never heard anything among. I was referring mainly to dudes. Like to get. It's like that's kind of.
You get 120 guys. You might find 2 or 3 condoms the next morning.
And you're probably gonna have loads of it. Probably a lot of lube though. I was gonna say though too to Vlad. I wanted to say to Vlad though too. It's the reason. Okay, I was gonna say something on the whole faith kind of thing because I know everyone. Just one thing is that here's the why we don't live by. Because it says in the New Testament, "The just shall live by faith." So it's not by the works of the law and anything. That also explains. That's the main thing that Paul says. The just shall live by faith, not all this stuff like some of these other people that go, "You have to do this and you have to do this," like Muslims, and we're like, no, it's not. But it still doesn't give you a right to do bad things, though.
I mean, that's true. I mean, however, like you be homophobic on any standard, even if it's factual. Same with other forms of bigotry, apparently. For example, the Justicar, when he made his defense videos of Justice Scalia, people already jumped and said, "Oh, but he made homophobic dissent, you retard." I'm like, what? Oh, just because there might not be any constitutional protections for sexual conduct does not automatically mean that someone is homophobic for acknowledging that fact.
Yeah, I think what all this leads to is simply the fact that we need to focus more on presenting arguments against these kind of obviously and verifiably damaging lifestyles, and put it in a way that's distanced from this rhetoric that's very vehement and it's filled with animosity.
Yeah.
And if you do that, then I think people will be much more receptive to it.
Did I say something before? It's not just faith, and it was the lifestyles too, because I did forget. I'm just double checking. Because I would say lifestyles are bad too.
Yeah.
It's not healthy. It's not just healthy. I believe it's wrong, but.
Oh wait, like we know that America once had a free market history time in
They still kind of do, Lewis. Europe still has a free market to some degree.
I'm talking about America, not I talk about.
You too. Just want attention. Whatever.
Canada was during what prime minister? I forgot his.
Yeah, I think you're referring to Wilfrid Laurier.
Laurier, whatever he made a free market in Canada.
Well, I mean,
what about Brazil? Was Brazil once in its history a free market?
Well, I mean, there was never a perfect free market in Canada or really anywhere for that matter. But
I think this question goes to Danilo.
Yeah, Wilfrid Laurier stood
Yeah, I was going to ask that question.
Freedom and free markets during his lifetime. All right, so let's change the subject.
Wait, can I say one last thing about this? I kind of want to say it's actually more of an announcement, so it's really nothing to do with this. But I'm actually planning on making a series of videos defending Justice Scalia. So.
Oh, nice.
All right. All right. So I'm sure that we've all been following the news regarding Donald Trump's presidential campaign, and I'm sure that we've all seen the footage of these protests of his rallies, especially in Chicago, where all the Bernie Sanders supporters and all the degenerates come out. They block traffic and they cause all sorts of mayhem and mischief. So I was just wondering, first of all, do you think that these chimp outs are going to continue or increase in veracity?
No, these chimp outs are definitely going to continue.
Do you think that this means that there's going to be a let's say an assassination attempt or an attempt to silence the Trumpenfear anytime soon?
Oh, Tom, you know how you mentioned Chicago? So
you live in Chicago.
I heard that they're planning on burning shit down everywhere in my city if Donald Trump wins.
Yeah, I can really imagine the outrage.
I was gonna say
You know what should happen? Like, I'm surprised that the police doesn't get militarized again, and they just shoot all these fuckers down, because that just solves the problem easily.
Yeah, hey, Tom.
If Trump gets elected,
that really wouldn't solve the problem. That would escalate the problem.
You know what? We would create a small civil war, but most people with a reasonable brain agrees with Trump, so...
You know those members of the Black Lives Matter movement, those people who are like civil rights activist wannabes, like they should just be lynched. I'm sorry, they honestly need to be.
I was gonna say something to Tom, but everyone keeps talking. I was gonna say.
Social Democrat and the rest of those characters are gonna have a field day with.
Hey,
they need to,
Tom.
They need to be all. They should be like.
Luis. I was gonna say something, but you're cutting me off.
All right, let Delta say something.
Yeah, Tom. Do you mean?
Yeah. All these people just need to be,
These people got to get thrown out of fucking helicopters.
Yeah.
Pull him to his knees.
But then again, you can't throw... I know I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again. You can't throw all Marxists out of helicopters. For example, if you were to throw Jason and Red Scare TV out of a helicopter into the Atlantic Ocean...
I see this coming.
You're going to cause the next Haiti earthquake, I swear.
Yeah, you're going to need at least 2 helicopters to do that, too.
All I want to say is people like Democratic Socialists, the one, the Finnish Bolshevik, and the Free Flow, if you guys are watching this, you deserve to be thrown out of helicopters.
Hey, no, Vlad, they're actually going to need a Chinook to take them.
No. Put a shotgun in his mouth.
By the way, guys...
Wait.
I've always been a Marxist faggot.
That's a nice slice. That's a nice slice.
Faggot shit.
Well, realistically, you can't just go around shooting up all the people in your population.
No, that's the police's job. This is 2016.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm behind the times.
This is a time where murder is acceptable.
Well,
it's like in the Clockwork Orange.
Well, I think it's important when you talk about these things not to be too hyperbolic, or not to be hyperbolic at all. And people can often get carried. People can often get.
Okay, but you see, Cater. Here's the thing. This is how you gain mainstream traction, is by being shocking and hyperbolic. Because up until very recently, most people had a very they had a very reflexive reaction when anybody said anything that was sympathetic to either Hitler or Pinochet or any of these other fascist regimes. And basically what the alt-right is doing, and what a lot of people on the right are doing right now, is that we're desensitizing people to this imagery in order to move the Overton window back to the center.
Yeah, I think I think there's a distinction that needs to be made, though. Like, I understand fully why it came to prominence. It came to prominence through the fact that it was shocking people, and that's what gained it traction, and use of terms like conservative and stuff like that. And, all this kind of imperialistic imagery and a lot of shouty trolls. But now that people like us have more of a voice, you'll need people who can speak. You'll need to attempt, at least I think, to tone that down a bit and speak with a bit less, like I said, hyperbole. You can't be shouting these things if you're going on news stations and so forth, if that is you want to. All I think is that if you're just trying to have a sanguine discourse with somebody who's actually listening, it's just not helpful.
I agree, but here's the thing. If you're arguing with somebody in good faith, if you're having a genuine intellectual debate where you exchange ideas and you make arguments based on evidence, then yeah, I would agree. There's really no place for saying, gas the kikes, race war now. But when you're dealing with a lot of people on the left today, they are not interested in having a debate in good faith. They are just
sure, yeah.
You
They're more of a fan of relying on emotions.
Yeah, they're just trying to use emotional reactions by using these words like racist and fascist and try to shame you.
If you want an example,
But I also think, if I could say one more thing really briefly, that it's very important that we don't fall into that same trap of just starting to argue unconsciously from emotion, and that'll just become a feedback loop. It kind of already has with terms like cuckservative and so forth, where they don't really mean anything. It's just like what happened with racist, right? It gets thrown around too much. Boy who cried wolf. Now it means nothing.
I think the whole point is to demoralize the left. Like he said, you cannot have an intellectual debate when the person next to you is calling you a racist, fascist, or anything. It's like with a pigeon. So you have to demoralize them. When you have the opportunity to have intellectual debate, when you see the person is honest, intellectually honest, then you will work intellectually with philosophy, politics, or anything. If not, there's no how to be successful in it. So it'll be a waste of time.
Yeah, I'd certainly agree with. I agree with everything you said, Danilo.
Also, like we should.
Come on! I just want to say something very quickly.
Let Luis speak. There's plenty. Wait, we're gonna be here all night, so you have plenty of time to get.
Like, because I don't get it. Like, next time if a freaking leftist said, "You're a fascist, racist," like you just call him a communist, Stalinist. Like. Stalin didn't do nothing, man. Shit.
That's funny, actually.
Bye, Manuel.
Yeah, but like, one thing that leftists like to do, like radical leftists and people, I mean, this goes on both sides of the political spectrum, actually. Like, you have people on the right and the left accusing each other of legislating morality. Two things about that. Number one, what's the point of legislation if it's not to enforce the moral beliefs of the population? And two, people on the left love to legislate things based on their moral perspectives on this world. For example, they want easier to abortions and condoms, for example, and they claim that's a moral right for them to have. That might be useful in my personal sentiment, but to legislate it and make people pay for it, that is legislating morality, in my opinion, so they have no room to talk about
rich people being thrown from helicopters.
Or they want me to basically be taken. Or Nero, you also forgot they want people like me to be removed from society because I'm not progressive enough for them.
That was actually quite a really good point, Nero. And I was actually just about to make the same point. Is that all legislation stems from some moral impetus, and it's
all right. Okay. Since it's Thursday night, whatever. Let's since Nero of Rome is pro-war and Dresden is anti-war.
Pro-war under certain circumstances, like if there's like a very short supply of something that's important, like if a country's water supply.
Actually, Luis, before you get into that, I have one more point to add to conclude this discussion that we were having. I'm guessing that you've all seen that video at the Trump rally. I believe it was in St. Louis, where there was those people. I believe they've come to be known as AIDS Skrillex and Carl the Crack. The way that those people acted during that rally, it just demonstrates that a lot of mainstream leftists today, they genuinely believe that they have the moral high ground. They genuinely believe that their positions are not debatable.
They were literally religious zealots.
He was so flabbergasted that somebody would question that Trump was like Hitler. And basically, what we're doing, what my channel aspires to do, is to try to question that certainty of moral high ground, to try to present
about these fake
try to open up a genuine debate rather than just tolerate a world where people with genuine concerns about politics are just shut down as being racist and sexist with no debate possible. All right.
Wait, let's go back.
Wait a minute. I just want to say something. Like, you have leftists, like liberals, who will say that morality is subjective, which I agree to some extent. Morals are dependent on your upbringing, your worldview, and a lot of other things as well. Mostly depends on won't get into that now, but
No.
the people like Incom saying that morals are subjective, but then they turn around and they make objective moral statements, especially Black Cat. And I have one message for Black Cat. Lewis is spelled L-U-I-S, not L-S-I-S.
He spelled it L-I-U-S. It's L-U-I-S. He's like...
Yeah, that's our message to you, Black Cat. Your spelling sucks.
I got another message for Black Cat as well. I have one message.
Fuck up, Potato. Go fuck yourself, man.
Manuel is
Stupid
back,
bastard.
and I'm curious, why does he keep leaving and joining?
Hey, Black Cat, I have a message from Angry Bastards. He wants to know...
Have you always been a monstrous faggot?
You talk about that kid. I don't know why you all... Every like couple of comments I see from one of you, it's always about that guy. I don't know why you fixate on him.
Like, I'm pretty sure that Black Cat's going to make another shitty Adolf Hitler video, where he misspells all their names, and yeah, it's going to be fail again. Although, to be fair, Black Cat's video was kind of funny. I kind of chuckled.
Well, I have to give him credit because the first video I came across of him was I don't remember exactly what it was. I think it was about you.
Wait, sorry, who's making all that noise? Sorry to interrupt you, Cater.
No, that's fine. Yeah, whoever's like clattering around the background, you might want to mute the microphone.
Real quick, all right?
Sorry.
My bad. It's just too much noise.
All right, continue, Cater.
Oh, right. Yeah, I was just gonna say that I chanced upon Black Cat's video, and I said, you know, it was very shoddily put together, and he was struggling to come up with an argument, and it was just sort of like a lot of gesticulation, and then he'd make a funny face, and I said, you know, you might want to, and the other thing was that the words, the text up on the screen was just flying by a million miles an hour, so I said, I don't wish to sound unkind, but this was horribly incompetent, and you might want to you know, allow the text on your screen to stay for a little longer so that people can see it. And I expected, you know, shut up faggot, you know, something like that. And he said, thank you for the taking the time to give me a solid critique and, you know, not being ridiculous. So,
yeah, well,
so I got to give him credit.
In all honesty, he seems like a nice enough guy.
Yeah.
It's just edgy.
About war and because Nero defends the Iraq War. Dresden does not. I think I'm like in the bench at this point. I don't support it, but like at least it was a little. There's some things that I would say the Iraq War was a situation in which it was a mass-killing dictator who was just testing other nations. Like he was doing what he wanted to do, acting like like he's gassing his own people. Like he's like one of those annoying kids, those annoying bullies that destroys the freaking classroom.
Yeah. I'm sure we're all familiar with that, but I can think of no. Oh, were you trying to say something, son?
No.
Continue.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say that I'm sure we're all familiar with Saddam Hussein's terrible regime in the Baathists and so forth. It's just I've never heard a good argument against you know, the fact that the Baathist Party was the greatest stabilizing force in the region, and that everything fell into chaos, far greater chaos than what was taking place under his rule. And so I don't understand. I've never been in support of destabilizing places and uprooting people and aggressive neocon action unless you go and you properly conquer that region and then you make it part of the United States, right? Or if it's whatever country. So if we had gone over there and we had just taken it and said, this is ours now, I would have been fine with it. Well, I mean, obviously, not have been fine with it, but it would have been much a wiser thing to do, in my opinion, than.
Yeah.
Than
otherwise, you just end up creating a huge power vacuum, which is why groups like ISIS took power. Yeah, essentially, like
another point that might justify the Iraq War is because
In terms of foreign policy, I generally describe myself as an isolationist. I don't think that the U.S. should be going around trying to depose these dictators, no, regardless of how cruel they may be to their own people. I think that we should trade with them. If they have oil, we should buy it. But we should just keep to ourselves mostly. And
unless they attack us.
it would be a much more fiscally prudent policy to just keep all our troops within our own borders and not go establishing military bases all across the globe.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
let me explain.
Louis, go ahead.
Okay, first off, actually, Saddam Hussein actually tried to assassinate George H.W. Bush when he visited Kuwait. And secondly, the problem with that argument is that, like, for example, the Rwanda genocide, like, we, as a result of pacifism and isolationism, we didn't want to deal with what's going on in Rwanda. And that's Bill Clinton sent lots of troops out of Rwanda because we didn't want to deal with the Tutsi, what's going on with the Hutus, and then as a result, millions of Tutsis died. And even if the U.S. stayed in the freaking Rwanda, we would have saved millions more.
Okay, you see, that was a failure of the United Nations. It was not a failure of United States. It was there's actually a really good documentary about a Canadian general who he was actually in charge of the United Nations forces within Rwanda right before the Rwandan genocide happened, and he constantly told the United Nations that, look, there's a huge problem. They're planning to assassinate the president, and they're going to have a huge ethnic cleansing. And all throughout this, the United Nations did not want to get involved. They basically told them to stand down and not to do anything. So, if anything, that's a failure of these huge globalist organizations like the United Nations, not a failure of any individual.
And the EU as well.
But wait a minute, who's a part of the United Nations?
Bill.
Lewis, can I defend myself? Can I defend myself very quickly?
Yeah, one sec. Lewis, you're talking from a well. I can't hear you, so I'm going to...
Hear me now?
Yeah, we can, but it's too loud.
All right.
Shit.
Nero, just make your point real quick, and then I'll let Lewis...
Okay, look, I would describe myself as a semi-isolationist. Like, I believe that we should be isolationist in the long run, but when it comes to things like a shortage of supplies that are imperative to the economy or to the people, or in times of self-defense is absolutely necessary, like against pirates, against gigantic-ass terrorist organizations or governments that are a threat to global peace. Yeah, I'm for war in those times, but when in all other times, war is something that we do not need. But to be fair, preparing for war and going to war in of itself, as well as having a strong military, is highly beneficial to the economy. Because when you need jobs, you need people to build military technologies and also get involved in military work in general. So when you prepare to go to war, you create jobs, both inside the military and outside the military. I can get into a huge debate with people who identify as libertarians about military spending and whatnot. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just saying I'm a semi-isolationist. I'm not like some imperialist shitlord. So.
All right, Nero. I have a couple points to make in response to that. First of all, you said that making war is good for the economy. Now, I know you're American, so you're probably thinking about this from an American point of view. The reason that the United States, why their economy benefited from conflicts like World War II, was because they suffered pretty much no economic destruction because of it. They produced a lot of goods that they sold to places like the Soviet Union for the Lend-Lease. They sent troops over, but they themselves were not attacked. They didn't get bombed. They didn't have their cities destroyed. So of course they gained greatly from World War II. And second of all, what you're saying is it's essentially a broken window fallacy.
I was actually going to make a video debunking that, because I do agree with the free market, but I do think that there are some fallacious arguments for the free market to some extent.
Yeah,
and I do feel that needs to be addressed.
Narrative.
So
we'll
save this for another day.
When you go around creating wars and causing destruction, then yeah, it creates demand to fix those things. But you're ignoring opportunity cost. You're ignoring what you could have spent money on otherwise, rather than repairing destroyed buildings and healing crippled soldiers.
Yeah,
So
but still, I'm making a video about the broken window fallacy in general.
It's not necessarily beneficial to the economy, and I don't think that we should have an economy based on just waging war all around.
I never said that. But
but
I did say, however, that military spending is beneficial. And can we discuss this another time? Because I'm actually going to be making a video about military spending and the broken window fallacy. So I think that's actually the best time to have a discourse about this particular topic.
Of course. Well, actually, this topic segues pretty well into something else I wanted to discuss tonight.
All right.
I'm sure we all have differing opinions on this, but what
can't making any noise anymore.
All right. Well, this is a question for everybody. What is your ideal solution in dealing with ISIS? How should we go about?
Does sand glow in the dark when you bomb it? Does sand glow in the dark when you bomb it?
I sincerely disagree with you, Nero, and I think the reason for that is that a even partially united Middle East would be a very terrifying force, far more so than ISIS, obviously. And I think that would greatly mobilize the various Islamist factions, the warring factions, to find some peace accord and to find a lot of common ground. And
well, I would say you do to stop ISIS, stop funding them.
What's that?
Well, you're going to have to deal with Israel. And
I will do the first ISIS. Yeah, we'll beat America and Israel to stop funding them and arming them.
Yeah, that too. That would be the first step. I think that's a much more pragmatic thing to do than to just go. No.
My internet's really bad, so that's why I'm gonna be muted for most of the time. Because it's really laggy.
That's alright. All right, so everybody else, what is your ideal solution for dealing with ISIS?
I think I already said them. Destroy them.
Sorry, Delta. What were you saying?
Destroy them utterly and leave nothing left of them.
How should we go about doing that, though? Do you think that we should invade? Do you think we should nuke them? Do you think that we should arm the Kurds or the Syrians to deal with them? Because
let's say with the Kurds, the main thing is we need to stop going against the side, because that's the only shot we really have of knocking them out.
Yeah, I think I'm no military strategist.
Keep him stable, but I know with geopolitics, no one's going to want to do that.
Yeah, I agree with you, Delta. I think you definitely should arm Assad. He's proven himself to be quite a competent and capable leader.
He's able to deal with the situation pretty well.
Yeah, and he also has the backing of Putin in Russia, so that seems like that, and then attempt to cut off their trade, attempt to defund them.
We'll defund the Saudis and the Turks.
Yeah, defund them
Soldier
first.
7 says that he wouldn't arm anyone.
All of this should be done, I think, before you go and bomb them, though. Like outright, overt military action, like I said, that would just cause a bigger coalition to rise up, unless you actually nuked them, which hopefully we can all agree should never be the first course of action. That's quite maniacal.
Of course, yeah.
Wait, can I talk now?
Hey, 1 second, Luis. I just want to make a point. First of all, yeah, nuking people it should be the very last resort in any situation, because once you use a nuclear bomb, even if it's warranted, like in the case of ISIS, I think what that does is it creates a precedent, and it makes it much more likely that nuclear weapons will be used in the future, which would be catastrophic to humanity in the long run.
World War III intensifies.
Yeah, and second of all, I just want to. You should all just consider, though, that I'm not sure if it's a majority, but I know a significant portion of ISIS operatives do not actually live in ISIS-occupied territory. They live all across the globe. I know that there's at least some in Canada. There's a ton of them in Europe. There's some in the United States, and God knows elsewhere. So even if we do physically remove ISIS from Iraq and Syria, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to disappear. I think
Hydra grows another head, as they
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
Not to mention. Hold on.
Sorry, Luis,
Wait a minute.
Luis
Wait a
wanted
minute. I just want to say one last thing.
Here,
Fine.
I'll let you speak in a second, but Luis wanted to speak for a while.
Yeah, first off, there was actually a ISIS member last year who tried to bomb a major highway in my home city, in Orlando. There's a highway called Highway USA, USA, something like
You know what you should have done to it?
the I Drive. It was a major road that leads to Kissimmee to Orlando, where you can go to Disney World, Universal, all those major attractions in Orlando. ISIS member tried to blow it up.
If you ever catch an ISIS member living in your neighborhood, what you should do is
Pull him to his knees, put a shotgun in his mouth.
And also, I want to point out something. I did research on Japanese internment camps, and I think that's what America needs, because if you do research on the internment camps, it wasn't that bad as people like to think. They were like communes. They were jobs. They produced their own food.
All right. So wait, do you think that we should inter Muslims or just ISIS?
He said that many times in the past. So
Don't
be politically correct.
All Muslims, and then ban the Quran in the United States.
No, Lewis, you can't trample on religious freedom like that. You can't say, "Oh,
you simply classify Islam as a cult."
Okay, that's true, but like you can't arbitrarily.
That's not gonna do shit.
I mean, like, yes, I hate Islam.
Clown.
I hate Islam with all. I hate Islam
That
and.
seems legit, you clown.
Like, I hate Islam myself, but I'm not going to ban everything involving Islam in the United States. That's just retarded. I mean, like, I can understand why you would want to ban something like Scientology.
Well,
but...
look, listen, the main problem with that is that it's impossible to verify whether or not somebody is or is not a Muslim or is not a Christian, because you can always just simply lie.
Yeah,
just,
that's...
Hey, random immigrant guy, are you a Muslim? Nope. You know, it's
yeah, that's
idiocy.
In my video, Lewis, I remember that script I wrote for you for that Defense of Donald Trump video. We brought up the concept of taqiyya, where it gives Muslims permission to lie about their faith. Remember that? Especially when there's a conflict. Remember that, Lewis? Yeah, we should talk. Let's talk about that while he's gone.
Yeah,
Lewis, describe what taqiyya is.
Taqiyya, it's basically a doctrine within Islam that gives permission to Muslims to lie about their faith or their beliefs in order to assimilate better within societies.
We are peaceful social justice warriors. Don't worry about us. We're not here to rape you.
Well, yeah, that's Taqiyya is basically the reason why we are completely unable to vet these so-called refugees pouring into the West right now. Because even if you say, "Hey, guy, are you planning to blow up Disney World?" You can just be like, "No, I'm not."
Are you planning to rape all those women there and cut their heads off?
No.
Oh, no, Islam forbids it.
I mean, have you seen that video that's a parody that talks about all the sects and beliefs within Islam, and you have this one Muslim moderate saying, "Oh, if you believe in any of those things, you're not a real Muslim, and by the way, Islam's the fastest growing religion. There's 1.7 billion Muslims now, even though all these practices and beliefs, if any Muslim holds them, they're not true Muslims. So it's really far less than 1.7
no
billion.
true Scotsman fallacy.
We got they have Catholicism and some of the big groups like that.
True Scotsman fallacy. Sometimes it just doesn't always apply. For example, if I was a weeaboo and I told you that I'm Japanese and I fapped hentai, that's not necessarily true in every sense of what I just said, because I am not Japanese. I am a white American with no Japanese heritage whatsoever. So obviously 50% of what I said is false, but it's not a no true Scotsman fallacy.
Oh, Adrian just came in the call, guys.
Greetings, LLA. How do you do?
Hello, go on.
Yeah, Nero, continue.
Yeah. As I was saying, like, yeah, I mean, I might watch anime, but I'm not Japanese. It's not no true Scotsman fallacy to say you're not a true Japanese, Brandon, because guess what? Even though I might watch hentai, I'm not Japanese. I'm not that much of a weeaboo. I'm not Japanese in the slightest bit. So that a no true Scotsman fallacy would only apply if you believe in everything that a group believes, but you might disagree with something in regards to some, like, it's kind of hard to explain it.
No, I think we all get what a no true Scotsman fallacy is.
According to certain Republican policy advisors, there, pretty much everybody on the alt-right masturbates to anime. Am I correct?
Yeah, that seems legit, you clown.
He said that anime is degenerate, and most alt-right people I know of think that anime should be banned, like in Russia.
And in Puerto Rico, there's some animes in Puerto Rico that is banned.
I mean, Lewis, you would hate Puerto Rico and Russia because all that hentai you have on your computer, you wouldn't be able to have because you'd be charged with child porn. Because that's what Vladimir Putin banned anime for. He says that all anime is CP.
All right, let's turn the conversation away from fucking degenerate Chinese cartoons for a bit.
That's Japanese, the gook cartoon. Let's turn the attention away from these yellow gook cartoons.
Yeah, by the way, we might even talk about degeneracy in the next
Careful,
one.
Delta, you'll cut yourself on that edge.
All right, so
okay.
now that we're talking, since we're on the line. Wait, since we're on the topic of, ISIS, terrorism, and like Muslim immigration and all that jazz, this sort of goes along with my other point. How do you think that we should solve this migrant crisis?
The what?
Mass
The migrant crisis.
Yeah.
What they should be doing is now opening the borders up to these refugees.
Okay, but here's the thing, though, that they continue to come, and just because of the European Union's policies, if somebody comes up onto the border and claims to be a refugee from wherever, then they have to be granted asylum.
Oh, then they should secede from the EU as well.
Okay, but it's not quite that easy. How do you? Does anybody have any solutions?
No, I'm not well educated enough in the situation to
you'd mind
say
if
I
I give
have
like a
solution.
leftist perspective on it?
Of course.
Go.
Imperialists are
I
coming
mean, personally, I don't.
Can't really hear you, mate.
I'm not like a fan of Islam, but
Hey, sorry, you're Manuel. Your mic is full of shit.
Yeah, your mic's fucking up.
can you guys hear me?
Oh yeah.
Okay, you're
Now I can.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right, continue.
All right. Well, like, I don't really get all the like the Islam bashing and stuff. I'm not like the biggest fan of it, but I mean, as for letting the refugees in, but that doesn't mean that I'm like that like all leftists are like these who want to create like this dual culture of like like Islamism in the middle of like this bourgeois welfare state. I mean,
No.
just because somebody is a refugee from somewhere.
I'm not entirely sure what you're saying, but you seem to
oppressive,
like
that, especially like Sharia law and stuff. I mean, that stuff cannot be tolerated in
Not in our civilization.
All right, Manuel, I can't really hear you, to be honest, because your internet connection is a potato. But here's what I think we're getting at. I think you're basically saying, like, there's nothing wrong with taking in refugees per se, but that you don't want, Muslim extremists and Sharia law proponents in your neighborhood imposing their will upon you, correct? Okay, he just muted himself. Well, anyway, I just wanted to...
I have one question for Manuel if he comes back. Didn't you say once that you don't mind Sharia laws as long as everyone consents to it? Or
Yeah,
the majority
I think he's fixing his mic. Anyway, I just wanted to give my 2 cents on this issue, because I've been doing some thinking lately about the migrant crisis. Basically, the way I see it is that a lot of these, not all of them, but a lot of the people who are pouring into Europe and Canada and other places right now, a lot of them are economic migrants. That is, they're not necessarily fleeing from war or hardship as much as they're trying to seek a higher living standard elsewhere. And because these sovereign states of Europe, like France, Germany, have such generous.
Sorry, Danilo, I had to mute you.
Yeah, I'm muted. All right. So because these states in Europe, like Germany and France, have such generous welfare states, it offers an economic incentive for these people to come over and to pour into these countries en masse where they don't belong. So what we have to do in order to solve this crisis, I believe, is to alter the economic incentives. So if you're going to continue to have a welfare state or social democracy in these countries, I think that there should be a policy change so that only native-born Germans or native-born Frenchmen or Swedes or whatever it may be are eligible for these state benefits. So I don't think that it's good to have Muhammad coming over from Lebanon in order to take funds from the German government to get his teeth fixed. That should be unacceptable in any case.
Wait, Vlad, I just want to say something.
Yeah, if I could touch on that for a second.
Let me finish, Nero. And if you're going to continue to have these socialistic policies, then you're going to have to limit them to native-born citizens, not to extend these benefits to refugees or first-generation foreigners coming through. So
I completely agree with you, sir.
Danilo, unmute yourself.
Wait a minute. Can I say something very quickly about this crisis? And because of a certain someone that's in here, this will amuse him. However, I do want to discuss about this thing called freedom of association. One criticism of anarcho-capitalism is that open borders is always a bad thing, but the thing is communities and private property can also solve the situation well, because you could have a private owner that owns a community and they can say, no one of this group of people allowed. Even an ANCAP society could easily deal with this immigration problem. And yes, I'm trying to appeal to someone in this call. Say hello.
Hello.
Wrong hello.
ANCAP.
Adrian.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's your thoughts on using freedom of association as a means of creating, like, what you would call private borders?
Private orders?
Borders!
Freedom of association is great. I don't think they go together. I'm not free to associate with private borders. I have to have their permission.
Yeah, however, freedom of, that goes both ways. For example, if you have a private owner that owns like 5,000 acres of land and there's tons of people who by contract agree to live on that land with some terms and conditions, of course, but still. However, there is like, okay, if you are this or that, then you cannot be a part of our community. That person who owns that land is freely associating and disassociating with particular individuals. And I feel that even an ANCAP society could deal with the
Alright, but ANCAPs don't...
I'm talking about ANCAPs, Lewis.
Oh,
that's fine. There's nothing wrong with what you're saying. Like, that's what my landlord does. They don't, they discriminate against people who don't want to live on the land. I don't see a problem with that.
Okay, actually, Adrian, I have a question for you. In an anarcho-capitalist society, how would you even enforce border control?
If you don't have borders.
Okay, but let's say that you have let's say that you have a country in a desert or a jungle that's very sparsely populated. What's to stop a neighboring country from coming in to a land that's sparsely populated and just settling there, where people are not immediately going to tell them?
They're intruding, right? They're doing something wrong. They're trespassing. Is that right?
Yeah. No, it's an invasion.
Well, it's an invasion. Well, then we do whatever we can by any means necessary. So, death, destruction, murder, chaos, kill.
This was actually the thing I posed to you when we first talked. I believe was about
Yeah,
centralized
on the
military.
first part of on alt-right hangouts.
Yeah.
We fight. That's the answer. We fight.
Yeah. Well, because here's the thing. Like, let's say, I know this is unrealistic, but let's say that Canada overnight became an anarcho-capitalist society for some reason. Right?
Let's just say.
So, here's the thing, though. Like, if an army from Alaska or Montana or wherever decided to invade Canada, it would be days, maybe even weeks before we noticed, just because Canada is so sparsely populated. So if we were an anarcho-capitalist society, we didn't have a national army, we didn't have a central government, how would we deal with that? I just don't understand how that would work.
I'm just contemplating how ridiculous the Alaskan Legion sound.
It'd probably just be the United States.
Which say that there could be a militia to stop that.
Okay, let me say this about the whole Alaska thing. What about I'm like the dictator of the U.S. for some reason. I decide to invade this anarcho-capitalist society. What are you gonna do?
We fight back with our private military.
Well, I got the whole U.S. Army to back me up, so you're kind of done.
Okay, let's say you have a private military, but I'm guessing in a country the size of the United States, you would probably have more than one private military. So what's to stop these private militaries from getting at each other's throats and fighting each other rather than repelling the enemy?
What about the broken window fallacy? Because that could apply here. If all these private militias are doing is fighting profit, then it destroys the economy. So we could use the logic that you gave me against my semi-isolationist views against you. Because
wait a second, Nero. Wait a second. You said you didn't believe in the broken window fallacy.
I know, but I'm using his logic against his argument against ANCAP.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why we're arguing about use of force, because in anarcho-capitalist utopia, nobody initiates force in this utopia. So like,
here's the thing about that. Everything in this planet is fucking coercive. You have to have some form of coercion to keep the peace. If you don't have coercion, everything's going to fall. It has to be either private owners, the state, or somehow.
Well, that's organize themselves back to people's like opinions.
I mean, like love, or entry, or whatever. Like you have to agree that, like, what if I don't want to live in your ANCAP society?
Yeah, I think the best way to handle this is just to say they'll cross that bridge.
Sorry to interrupt you, Cater, but Nero, your mic is fucked. Please fix it. All right, continue, Cater.
Can you guys hear me now?
No.
Okay, hold on a second.
He's jumped in the well too.
Yeah, he's in the well with Louis. All right, sorry, Cater, you have a point?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I really don't think this is that big of a deal. You know, like that's something that it's so far down the line that I don't think it's even worth contemplating. That's like I said, that'll be a bridge that you cross when you come to it.
Can you guys hear me now?
Oh yeah.
Okay, can I say something?
I just want to wait a minute. Wait, I wanted to finish my point.
Okay.
Fuck! I forgot what I was going to make my point about. That's gay. Let's continue.
Think about it, Nero. Let Louis speak.
Anarcho.
You're in the well.
Sorry, Louis, your mic is fucked. Go fix it.
Wait.
Everyone's mic is fucked today.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now? Yes.
It is I, George Soros, who is destroying your mic.
And anarcho-capitalism is...
I got a meme to read. Hey kid, you want your free college? No.
Alright, I'm just gonna play some drops while you guys get your shit sorted out.
We're an incredible faggot. Marxist, socialist, trash, retarded.
Speaking of Marxist faggots,
seems legit, you clown.
Earlier we were talking about a certain user.
No education and no future.
Okay, wait a minute. Yeah. I was actually.
You gotta get thrown out of fucking helicopters.
These people say that we have no education. Education holds.
Everyone's mic is fucked!
All right,
Holy
somebody
shit, stop
with
screwing up your mic.
a non-fucky mic say something.
I think Manuel is just chilling.
All right, I think I'm good. So I'm just gonna spout my shit for a bit. All right, so
Okay.
there's a lot of hey, shut up everybody for a sec. There's a lot of fear on the alt-right and with subversive groups on the internet in general that the powers that be and emphasize on that one. The powers that be are going to eventually try to shut us down. They're going to destroy our platforms. They're going to remove us from websites like Twitter, from YouTube, from Facebook, even though that's already happened to some extent. And eventually, like, the presence of the alt-right will be completely gone from the internet, will be entirely censored. So how grounded do you think that these fears are? And do you think that we have to, in the future, we're going to be increasingly silenced and censored?
Depends on the situation at hand.
I'd say I think they're quite well-grounded, or well-founded, I should say, given what's been happening with Facebook and Twitter and the shadow bannings and the actual bannings and the people that they get to run these administrations, or the people that get to fill the administrator roles for these organizations. It's very troubling to me. I don't think those fears are unfounded at all.
Yeah, well, I know that Angela Merkel has had contact with Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook, and she's told him directly to get rid of this anti-sentiment from Facebook, shut it down.
Yeah.
Honestly, though, like...
Yeah, Manuel?
Speak.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, of course.
And it's kind of hypocritical for, like... I think it's kind of hypocritical for, like, neo-fascist stuff to whine about censorship. I don't know.
Well, I'm not a neo-fascist.
Yeah, I'm not a neo-fascist.
No, I wasn't implying that. I was saying that a lot of the right is, like, and...
No, not a lot of them, no.
People joke about, like...
No, they're really not.
Helicopters.
Okay,
but I mean, like, for example, like I've seen tons of neo-Nazis complain about bridge and stuff like that, and it's like, well, like, what do you advocate for? You don't advocate for freedom of speech either.
I mean, like, I did bring this up when I was in SJW, but I like to bring it up again. I mean, like, when you made that video. He said,
sorry, Nero, your mic is still fucked.
Everyone's mic is like, well, because it's.
Don't Soros fucking up your microphone.
Dude, he's making that random noise in the background. I think that's the reason why.
All right, so anyway, Manuel, to respond to that point, I know that there are, a lot of people with fascist, National Socialist bents who actually do believe in restricting free speech, and if they had power, they would probably censor a lot of people who disagree with them. But I think that most people who are in our camp, that is, I don't know, general right-wing, alt-right, I think most of them will tolerate free speech because they know that in a free marketplace of ideas, the ideas with merit, the ideas that are grounded in evidence and in reason will prevail, and that these bullshit ideologies like feminism and cultural Marxism will die out because they are unable to defend themselves without silencing other opinions by force.
That was I would clap for you if that didn't seem.
Oh, neo-progressivism.
But I want to say one more thing. Who is mouth breathing into their microphone?
Manuel.
George
I keep hearing. I'm just kidding.
What's up?
I don't know. Somebody keeps breathing into their microphone. When it was very distracting from when the Vlad was talking. Yeah, I completely agree with you, Vlad. And
my mic keeps getting turned down on its own, like it's being freaking retarded.
Cater,
hold on a sec.
I just want to say that from now on, if you're not speaking, please mute your microphone, okay? I'm gonna do it. Everybody else, mute your microphone if you're not speaking, okay?
I have something to say.
All right, what is it?
Okay, I brought this up to Delta when he made that. It's called free speech, you communist faggot, which is funny, by the way. I did want to make a quick video response at the time, because then fascists tend to disagree with free speech to an extent. Like, as you say, they want to censor degenerate speech, but like, couldn't I easily say it's called free speech, you fascist faggot?
Well, can I interrupt for a second?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Nobody really believes in, unless they're deranged, total free speech. Nobody really believes in total freedom. So you have to make a distinction, that disseminating the information for a nuclear warhead to everybody you know is probably a bad idea, and that should probably be criminalized, and we shouldn't consider that under the umbrella of free speech. But yeah,
I think I would rather have the whole. There's a freedom of speech is not equal to freedom of consequences. There's a time and a place for everything. If I went to a Linkin Park concert and I started jerking off and I told everyone, "Hey everyone, jerk off," I would expect to be escorted by the security outside of the concert. So, I mean, there's a time and a place for speech. And
Okay, but that's different though. When you're on somebody's private property. Like, if you go into a store and you say to the shop owner, "Fuck off, you bastard," like, you have every right to kick you out of the store. Like, that doesn't count as free speech. Same as if you come into my house and you spit on the floor and tell me to fuck off, I'm gonna kick you out. That's not a violation of your free speech. That's just, you being a dickhead and me kicking you out of my house. So
But like, I disagree with Cater on government censorship. Like, I'm all for private companies and private property owners censoring and kicking out people they disagree with, or because the people who are on their property are being dickheads. Although it could be funny, but they're still being dickheads. And I'm just opposed to government censorship because, yes, if you were to go to a Jewish neighborhood and said, "Fuck you all, you deserve to die," yes, that might be considered an incitation. I don't know if that's an actual word or not, but the incitation of violence. But what I would say is, if you try to censor or get rid of one form of speech, it invites a way to get rid of all forms of freedom of speech, and that's the problem with today. Like, you have the Supreme Court that says slander is not protected by the Constitution, or
I'm back.
slander is not protected by the Constitution, or stuff like that, and that just leads to saying, "Oh, hate speech isn't protected by the Constitution," which is why Milo Yiannopoulos almost got arrested for hate speech in Oklahoma. When you censor one form of speech through the use of governmental action, you inevitably invite other means to end free speech in terms of the government not being allowed to arrest people for speech. So I really say that freedom of speech should be an absolute right, but it's different with property owners. With property owners, censor who the fuck you want, but with the government, fuck no, and fuck the Supreme Court.
All right, but like, I have to, in response to that, I have to agree with Cater's point that he made earlier, that you can never have complete free speech. For instance, yelling fire in a crowded theater should not be permissible because it creates circumstances in which people are going to get hurt. Same with libel and slander. You should not be able to knowingly spread lies about people to destroy their reputation. I think that's malicious and it should be banned. But I think that if you are stating a genuine belief or stating something that is arguably true, then that should be protected. And I just want to also make another point that you guys in the United States do not know how good you have it in terms of free speech. Because here in Canada, we have a ton of laws, specifically Articles 318 and 319 of the Canadian Criminal Code, that pretty much ban any kind of speech that could be construed as quote-unquote inciting hatred towards an identifiable group. And these laws are frequently enforced. For instance, I'm sure you guys watched my video about Roy Arthur Topham, the guy from BC who was dragged in front of a courtroom for basically what amounted to posting articles on his blog that he didn't write, by the way, that that were considered anti-Semitic. For instance, he posted the Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion, which is a proven hoax. He also posted, what was it, Mein Kampf. So we, like in Canada, people frequently get charged with inciting hatred for just saying benign things or even paraphrasing things that we didn't say.
Hey, Gaming Patriot.
Well, I mean, if he's posting the Elders of Zion, I mean, I think he just needs mental help. I don't think he needs it.
He's just.
Why don't we ask Mr. Gaming Patriot since he just joined?
Yeah. Hey.
I was gonna ask
Sounds
Manuel
like he's just
something.
watching too much Alex Jones or something.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about freedom of speech right now.
Oh yeah,
We're
speech.
talking about, like, what limitations should be on free speech.
I was gonna say something, but I'll let you guys ask him a question.
Yeah.
In regards to you guys' reply to my statement, I mean, I wasn't implying that I.
All right, sorry, Manuel, your mic is fucked. Delta, I'll let you speak after, but Gaming Patriot, what do you have to say about freedom of speech?
What's up?
Wait, Gaming Patriot, we can't hear you.
I think you're muted.
Hello?
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Yeah, I can't hear him for shit.
All right, fix your mic. In the meantime, Delta, what did you have to say?
I was gonna say, like, I kind of say some things about communists. I know, like, Manuel, he could say some things about nationalists if he really wants, but I've kind of seen hypocrisy among commies. Some of them, they'll bitch about, like, how fascists will suppress people, yet a lot of them, they'll just advocate for anyone who did, like, with the theory of the dictatorship of the proletariat, to have anyone who disagrees with Marxism to be removed. And I'm like, okay, you're bitching at me for something, yet you're gonna do almost the exact same thing. And now I'm at the point now where I'm like, okay, this is part of their theory. Of course they're gonna do this. This is part of communist theory, so I'm like, of course. Like, no shit, like, this is gonna happen.
Yeah, but...
I'm like, no shit, this is gonna happen.
Yeah.
You're the one who wants to literally ban communist speech as degenerate, right? I mean...
I didn't say it was degenerate.
You don't see, like, the...
Does my mic work now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right.
Me removed anyway.
So Gaming Patriot, what do you have to say about free speech and limitations?
Well, after school, a lot of people tend to be very against free speech. It's kind of ridiculous, actually, showing how much the liberal education system indoctrinates youth. Like, a lot of them tend to be pro-censoring hate speech and pro-censoring books such as Mein Kampf, stuff like that, which I found to be quite ridiculous. I mean, if it offends you, then good, but don't try to limit me.
Yeah, actually, I saw a video on YouTube recently. I can't tell you the channel because I don't remember, unfortunately. But basically, this guy was going around on college campuses asking people whether they believed in freedom of speech, and most of these people said, no, I would restrict the speech of people who I disagree with. And I think I agree with you. I think that's a result of the failure of the education system to teach people the value of a free marketplace of ideas and a free exchange of information.
You need a tyrant to ensure that you don't get other tyrants.
Yeah, actually, there's a really good. If you ever want to read something about arguing in favor of freedom of speech, there's a really good essay by a philosopher named John Stuart Mill. I don't know if you've heard of him.
I'm more fond of Locke.
Yeah, John Stuart Mill lived in England during the 19th century, and he wrote a book called On Liberty. And basically this book argued that the reason why freedom of speech was beneficial was because in order to enforce a certain code of speech, you would have to have somebody who was omnipotent, who knew everything that was right and everything that was wrong, and could enforce this code of speech on what was right and wrong. But because nobody,
obviously none of us are.
Yeah, nobody in the human race is omnipotent. Nobody knows everything for sure. It would be impossible to enforce such a code of freedom of speech. Enforce such a code of speech without necessarily infringing on ideas that were true. So he believed that for the sake of the dissemination of information, it would be best if we just said whatever we wanted to each other, regardless of whether it was correct or not.
Indeed. I wanted to ask Nero very briefly. you kind of see what I'm saying, though, right? About how if somebody has the information to a nuclear warhead, you can't have that person running around disseminating that information, and therefore you would technically be censoring his freedom of speech, but rightly so, as he could be killing millions.
Yeah.
Unwittingly, even.
But I do stand that if we're going to limit any form of speech, we have to be extremely cautious because, again, like, if you have hate speech laws in Oklahoma, then hate speech should not be censored, in my opinion. Neither should slander.
Can I address that? That's a slippery slope, and I think it's a fallacy because.
I mean, in my state, slander isn't against the law. There's no federal law about slander, and if I were to say "angry bastards" has AIDS as a joke, I wouldn't get arrested for it. But there's one state that I do remember where if you were to say that, you could get sued for slander. So,
okay, but don't you think that if somebody is maliciously spreading lies and misinformation about you knowingly, then the state should malign that person?
No, not really, because even if I don't like it, to quote Voltaire, I may disagree with what you have to say, but I'll defend
it after what you're saying.
But no, we're transcending the realm of...
If someone wants to slander me, that's fine, but I want to slander them back.
Hey, Nero, for something to be slander, you have to know that it's untrue. For instance, you can't say, like, I don't know, Nero...
Wasn't South Park sued for slander once? I forgot.
Maybe. I know there was more controversy about the...
This would be an example of a slanderous accusation. Vladivostok is a fascist.
Well, no, that's not even a slanderous accusation, because it's reasonable that somebody could believe that. I mean, I'm not a fascist, don't get me wrong, but if somebody believes that I am, then they have every right to voice that.
If I said Vladivostok is a rapist, that would be more in line.
Yeah, exactly. If somebody was spreading lies that I was committing crimes, or that I was engaging in some sort of nefarious activity, like scamming people over the internet, then yeah, that would be slander, because that ruins my reputation. But if somebody just says, like, oh, Vlad's not a very good guy, then that might be their opinion, but...
I like how Democratic Social Soul slanders me, saying that I create soccer accounts, even though 90% of the time it's never even me.
It's Lewis.
Well, I mean, that's I guess that's a gray line, because he might believe...
He has no right to talk about people slandering him.
I just want to interject just for a second, because I want to address the whole why it's not a slippery slope. For something to be a slippery slope or to begin, starting a trend, it has to set a precedent. To set a precedent, it has to be, generally speaking, something that's occurring regularly. It's not an anomaly. Now, something like somebody gaining the files or information to a nuclear warhead or a dirty bomb, that's an anomaly. That doesn't happen often. It rarely ever happens. So I don't think that it would set a precedent. It'd have to happen often, and there'd have to be, it would have to be cumulative. It'd have to start a trend, right, for it to be a slippery slope. And that's why I think that's a fallacy, and I don't think it's a very good argument.
Yeah. So, wait, Cater, do you think that people like Edward Snowden should be brought to justice for divulging government secrets?
See, that's a tricky one. I mean, given the fact that he did endanger lives, or at least they say he may have, nobody really knows.
Don't trust the corporate media.
Yeah, the corporate media. Yeah, I really don't know. I mean, I haven't read all the files, so I really don't want to make a judgment on that.
Okay, but let's run a hypothetical thought experiment. Let's say that the government is doing something that's widely considered to be morally unjust. Let's say that they're bombing civilians just because it gets them hard. So, do you think that somebody in the NSA, for example, should be able to divulge that information without being prosecuted?
I mean, even outside of a legal standard, I would hope that they would. But legally, I would, if I was in a position to do so, there would be some finagling going on there, some caveat, if that situation arose. Certainly. What do you think, Gladstone?
Personally, I think that I don't think that Edward Snowden should be should be prosecuted for what he did, because a lot of the information that he did reveal, it was related to government activities that were quite nefarious. For example, I know he released information regarding the U.S.'s involvement in inciting the Arab Spring protests back in 2011. And this is just my opinion, but I think that that's pretty objectionable. I don't think that the government should have been involved in that, and the fact that Snowden released this information without the government's consent was doing a public service, and that he would be unjustly prosecuted.
That's generally my sentiment too. I feel like I just would need to look into the case more thoroughly before I made a judgment on it. But I think the argument about he must be a traitor because he didn't stay here, right? He left. Well, I think that's a silly argument. Obviously, he's gonna flee. He's gonna probably fear that somebody's gonna have him sniped.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he was just trying to evade unjust government prosecution. It's just like what's his name, Julian Assange. He
found at WikiLeaks.
He was accused of rape in Norway, I believe, shortly after he released a bunch of documents on WikiLeaks. Now, my intuition tells me that these rape accusations were not well founded. They were probably leveled against him in order to silence him and probably throw him in jail. So I don't blame him for fleeing to Uruguay or wherever he went.
Bill Cosby.
Oh, wait a minute.
Well, that's another
I kind of want to move on to a topic that me and Delta might agree on. Me and Delta agree that at least he's making a noise.
What is that sound?
Are you being abducted by aliens?
Sounds like a whale.
What? No. Say it again.
Me and Delta agree that, well, at least to some extent we agree that there should be some public involvement in healthcare. I believe that there should be. I believe healthcare should be like based on private ownership, like you have competing pharmaceutical companies and stuff like that. However, I do believe in a public insurance policy where some things are covered by taxation, not completely, but like But I kind of want to move this discussion to this particular topic, especially in regard to this article that I linked you the other day, Vladistock, about the top 10 misconceptions about the Canadian healthcare system. You want to analyze? Can we analyze it very quickly?
He's in the bathroom.
He's in the bathroom, yeah.
Okay.
Mike's levels keep turning down for some stupid reason.
Yeah, everyone. Vlad said that if you're not speaking, you need to mute your mic. So.
I did that since I joined the call, but yeah, it's always
makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Especially you, Danilo, however you pronounce your name.
Danilo.
Danilo, yeah.
Danilo, yeah. I keep messing up his pronunciation too.
Danilo, that's a name. Never knew that.
What?
He's Brazilian.
You're not speaking. Mute yourself.
What's eating?
Can't really hear him eat.
That sounded so wrong.
Everyone, please mute yourself when you're not speaking.
Okay, so can we analyze this article about the top 10 misconceptions about Canadian healthcare?
Yeah, if you really want to. I mean,
okay.
I can tell you what Canadian healthcare is like if you really want to know.
Alright, so myth 1. Canadians are flocking to the United States to get medical care. How many times have you heard that Canadians, frustrated by long wait times and rationing where they live, come to the U.S. for medical care? I don't deny that some well-off people might come to the United States for medical care. But for the vast majority of people, that's not happening. This comprehensive study I've seen on this topic was published in Health Affairs. The article I'll open in a second. Phantoms in the Snow, Canadians' Use of Healthcare Services in the United States, published in 2002. And basically speaking, only about 20% of all visits in the top 20 hospitals in Canada were long waiting lines. And the study's authors examined data from 18,000 Canadians who participated in the National Population Health Survey. In the previous year, 90 of those 18,000 Canadians had received health care in the United States. Only 20 of them, however, reported going to the United States expressly for the purpose of obtaining care. So what's your thoughts on this?
All right, well, it's pretty complicated, but here's my take on it. The way that treatment is allotted here in Canada is that it's based on priority. That is, if you are considered to be a priority case, then you are going to get, you're going to get the first treatment out of anybody. So if you have, cancer or lung disease or something that's imminently life-threatening, then you're going to get treated before somebody else. But here's the thing, though. What this does is it creates an incentive for the healthcare system to not prioritize your condition. So even if you have something that happens to be life-threatening, like let's say cancer or heart disease, then the medical practitioners here have every incentive to say, oh yeah, you're fine, you're okay, talk to us in a couple months, let us know how you're doing. So the effect of this is that a lot of people die of easily treatable conditions. For instance, I'll give you one example. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with the YouTube user known as Stefan Molyneux.
Yes.
I'm not.
Jim Jesus hates it. Jim Jesus hates his guts, and Jim Jesus is a faggot. So
a lot of people don't seem to be very fond of Molyneux. But here's the thing. A couple of years ago, Stefan Molyneux was diagnosed with lymphoma, I believe it was. He had some sort of tumor in his neck. And he went to all these different doctors in Canada, and they all told him, you're fine, you're going to live, you don't need surgery, it's not cancer, it's golden, you're going to be fine. But then he went across the border to the United States, and they basically told him, hey man, you have lymphoma, you're going to die if you don't get an operation right now to remove this tumor. So the Canadian medical care, the Canadian socialized medicine almost killed the guy. He probably wouldn't be around today if he had stayed in Canada and listened to the Canadian doctor's advice.
Yeah. Also, let's say that this system does, like, this hypothetical system of those who need it the most get treatment first. Let's say that the system does work. To a certain extent, this encourages irresponsibility because, like, for example, lung cancer. If you get lung cancer because you smoke a pack of cigarettes every day, 7 days a week, then you brought that on yourself, and it's not the responsibility of the government to take care of you because of what you did to your own body of your own free will. So that kind of encourages irresponsibility.
It creates a perverse incentive. But here's another thing, though. I'm guessing that none of you have been in Canada or sought medical treatment within Canada.
Nope.
My family actually comes here routinely to get health care, so.
Okay, well, I live in a fairly large city, and I can tell you that every time I've gone to the doctor's office or a walk-in clinic for any reason, it's always been packed. There's always been at least a dozen other people waiting to see a doctor, and I'm willing to bet that many of those people probably don't have imminently life-threatening conditions. It's probably like, oh, I stubbed my toe, or I have a belly ache, or my head kind of hurts. I need to see a doctor. So when you have a medical system that imposes zero marginal cost on utilization, then what it does is it incentivizes people more to go see a doctor for all these different petty little things, and it causes huge congestion in emergency rooms, in waiting rooms, in doctors' offices, and generally it's just a huge mess. In fact, a couple months ago, there was a man who died of an infection. He had a catheter infection, and he died waiting to see a doctor. He was sitting there for hours and hours. So it's relatively common here in Canada that people will die of infections and other diseases and illnesses just waiting to see a doctor. So
with the
it makes me scared if Bernie or Trump becomes president. It really does.
I was going to say that.
One more thing I just want to say is that I know a lot of people in the United States, they say, oh, you Canadians have it so great with your socialized medicine. and all
I've
that.
never said that.
But let me just say that if the United States was to impose socialized medicine, it would be much more disastrous than it is here, because there's much greater population density in places like New York or Los Angeles than there are in Toronto or Vancouver. So it would just be I couldn't even imagine how many people would die of easily treatable ailments just because there weren't enough doctors to treat them. So
Americans, you remember Americans, there's someone who wants to impose this on you. His name is Bernie Sanders.
I
Guys,
have that.
apparently, around the majority of my class in my history, we took the I Side with quiz. It's a pretty, if any of you've heard of it.
Oh yeah,
I've heard of it.
What?
I've done it before, yeah.
The majority of them sided with Bernie Sanders, which kind of frightens me.
Wait, what do you mean by? Do you mean?
Bernie Sanders.
What?
Okay, but I do want to say this though about healthcare. I do agree with you. However, I will say that maybe a universal healthcare system could work. However, only if you allow private companies to run within to treat people who cannot be treated by taxpayer-funded healthcare, and also you have a reasonable tax rate. Like universal healthcare does not work in a country where tax rates are insanely ridiculous. I think that's kind of a double negative, but regardless, I'm not a grammar Nazi, but what I'm trying to say is...
Doesn't it when your taxes are high too? In Brazil, we have high taxes, and the healthcare is just shit. Even
here's the thing.
Private healthcare is not good, but public healthcare is like it's terrible. People die in the hospitals before get attended by doctors.
I heard that thousands of Europeans actually travel to America every year just to get health care.
That's true. Pretty much anybody in Canada that has money to spend will go to the United States to seek treatment.
I wonder if DSO1 is going to make a video response to that part. However, I do want to say this about it. Like, here's one reason why I like Trump, because back in 2000 he advocated for universal health care. And he's an entrepreneur, and he's done business well. If you saw my Defense of Donald Trump video that me and Lewis did, you would find that he knows how to manage money well. Under budget, he built and revamped, so to speak, so much infrastructure under budget. Like, very little money he used to build this, yet he does it very well. And his tax plans are genius if you read his books. So one thing I do see universal healthcare doing well is if you had someone like Donald Trump running your tax money to fund universal healthcare, you would have a low tax rate that doesn't result in the Laffer curve. In the meantime, still having healthcare being funded under budget, if that makes any sense. And I feel Trump could actually do that very well, hence why I would be voting for him.
Like a certain person who lives off of welfare until he's 30.
Could I say my opinion on this healthcare issue?
Yeah, go ahead, Delta.
Well, we do have some cons to our own system, because to some people they can't even afford to pay for it. So there are people who do get screwed over by private healthcare. Of course, you have it. I'm not saying public healthcare is perfect. I'm like, of course, you have inefficiencies within it. So the best thing we can do is try to, because most social, it needs to be based on your real needs, and not in a condition. They don't take into condition into account. So we should try to work to fix the system instead of we should try to fix it if we can. See if people who can't afford to pay for healthcare try to basically then you should give that to them for free, because not everyone has $1 million laying around. How much money you need to get something done. Not everyone has the money. See what I'm saying with this, or sound too socialist to you?
Makes a bit of sense.
But no system is perfect.
For me.
No system is perfect.
Shut up, Ethan.
Well, what you're advocating, Delta, is essentially Medicare. So, the government subsidizes the health care of people who can't afford it, right?
That's what I advocate for, basically, like a public insurance policy, so to speak. Like, I have, I am guaranteed some amount of taxpayer money as well as private money in regards to things like dentist appointment. Like, the total amount of money covered for my dentist appointment was 60%, so I only had to pay 40% of the dentist bill, so to speak. That's what I would favor. I favor Medicare and Medicaid, but only to a reasonable extent, where we only use our tax dollars to cover for the health care of people who are very impoverished, and not something like, oh, let's regulate every single fucking hospital on this goddamn planet and regulate the living shit out of them so they can't get anything done, because that's why the United States is in such a big fucking mess when it comes to health care. It's not the funding, it's not the taxpayer money subsidizing those who are in need. It's the over amount and overreach of government regulation over the healthcare system in the long run.
Well,
So
yeah,
it's
that doesn't allow. Well, yeah, if high regulation does not allow small companies to compete, which in turn is a bad thing for the consumer. So I can see what you mean there.
Oh, libertarianism, golden.
Yeah, well, I mean, here's another thing though.
Giving Patriots is alternative right, isn't he? Sorry.
I'm actually a libertarian.
The government imposes a lot of regulation in the on medical practitioners in the form of licensing, and so basically, the government will demand that any medical practitioners have to get this or this license. They have to jump through all these hoops and get all this certification, and this ends up costing the doctors or medical practitioners a huge amount of money. So they have to charge an insane amount per patient in order to make up for the amount that they're spending on certification. And another thing is that a lot of hospitals, basically back in like the 30s and 40s, healthcare per individual was relatively cheap, just because hospitals didn't have to pay for all this fancy, expensive equipment like MRI machines. But nowadays, that cost is diffused among healthcare providers and insurance companies. So people are paying a higher marginal cost for utility of medical care because of all this equipment that hospitals and doctors are buying. Now, I know there was Stefan Molyneux did another really good video about this a few months ago, where he interviewed a doctor who had his own private clinic where he charged the basically the amount of what the treatment costs. So if you need to get your finger stitched up or something, he would just charge you based on the cost of the stitches and the cost of applying the stitches, which was negligible. So more people were able to afford it. You didn't have the government coming in regulating it. You didn't have the cost of all this expensive shit being diffused throughout all the individual patients, and it worked pretty well. So I don't see why we couldn't impose a system like this.
Okay.
I actually agree with you a great deal.
That's my main problem with our healthcare. It's mainly like costs, and some people just want to make profit, and they don't care if someone's dying or not. So, I just want my money, and I don't care about you.
The main contention with me is simply that I don't believe anyone is inherently entitled to anything. You're entitled to what you.
I agree with that.
You're only supposed to pursue happiness. You cannot be entitled to it, said the founders.
Yeah, in order to be entitled to somebody, in order to be entitled to, say, healthcare or defense, it essentially means that you're entitled to somebody else's labor, that somebody else is entitled to work for you, which
that's sounding rather libertarian. Gotta watch out.
Yeah, it's gotten to get cringe.
You're gonna make Delta cringe. What is your problem? Hold on. What is your problem exactly, Delta, with libertarians? Because
I've just had a bad run with them. Like, it's funny, as me being, like, you could say a third positionist, they'll often call people like me a socialist because I call for some socialistic policies. I'm like, you're a socialist and you want to regulate the economy and government control, and yet also we do some capitalistic policies as well, like privatize certain industries. Just because you nationalize stuff or have some socialistic policy doesn't make you a socialist.
Yeah,
and commies on the other side will call us a capitalist because we have some capitalistic policies. And like, oh, you're a capitalist in decay.
I mean, I'm going to say what Social Democrats said to Ethan. No offense to you, Ethan, but just because you have some regulation or socialist programs does not automatically make you a socialist. Hitler was not a socialist. Even though he claimed to be a socialist, he wasn't a socialist in the sense that everything is nationalized or ran by worker co-ops or shit like that.
Actually, Hitler was very Keynesian. Keynesian, you know.
He was a third positionist.
Keynesianism is a form of capitalism because he advocated for private ownership of the means of production. It's highly regulated, but regulated capitalism does not equal socialism in all times. There has to be a certain amount of regulation or control over private enterprise or the lack thereof in order for an economy to be considered socialist.
Well, yeah, here's the thing. Most countries in the Western developed world today, including many of the Scandinavian countries that socialists like to point to, they're not socialist. They're not capitalist. They are mixed economies. They combine elements of free market and elements of government ownership.
That's what I favor. That's what I favor personally.
Well, that's a third positionist.
I believe.
When you compare a country like the United States that has more private ownership than public ownership, or at least values private ownership more, compared to countries like Denmark or Sweden that have a good degree of public ownership, what you're basically you're trading off the individual's right to keep their money with the right to all these different services like healthcare and education and all that. So it's essentially a moral argument that you're making. It's not an economic argument. There's really nothing. There's nothing inherently better about.
I mean, can I say one thing?
Than there is about.
I mean,
public
I basically believe in a free market, but I do believe in things like Medicare and Medicaid and just some government programs that don't require huge amounts of taxpayer money. And if it does require taxpayer money, it needs to be done under budget. Hence why I'm a big fan of Donald Trump. But here's the thing. I also believe in abolishing stupid shit like the minimum wage. If I had my way, employment would be a contract that the government would enforce. Like, if you want to be employed by someone, there would be a contract that sets terms and conditions like, okay, unless you do this and that, you'll be guaranteed $9.80 an hour, and I feel that if you allow for that, and the only thing the government does is handle court cases like, oh, you didn't abide by the contract, you stupid employer. Yeah, that's the only thing I think the government should do. And I think the minimum wage is bullshit because all it does is it creates inflation. When you force employers to have to pay for shit they cannot afford, they have to raise the prices, which decrease the values in the dollar. However, if you really want to get down to it, it should be like a contract. If you let private companies or private businesses set their own minimum wage through contracts, then it will be done in accordance with the market at the time, and you wouldn't have this big mess of inflation that we have today. So I think the only thing the government should do is enforce private contracts and provide some services that don't require a shitload of taxpayer money. That's just me, though.
I guess you have a good point there, but yeah.
Could I pose a question to all of you?
Sure.
What?
What do you think is the greatest problem that's facing our respective countries? Vladdy, you're from Canada, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm from America, so the United States, Canada, the problems are all mixed up together. So I'm just curious, what you think is the most grievous thing that we're facing?
Political correctness and terrible economics.
I'd say terrible economy and our expansionist foreign policy.
Well, I mean that's a pretty broad question.
Bad economics is.
I know.
I could probably make a good 20-minute long video about that.
Very overregulated economy, very mediocre economic growth, and a very warmongering foreign policy, which threatens the lives of many Iraqis.
Okay, well,
hey, you're speaking to someone who most of the people in this handout considers a neocon. So watch your back, homeboy.
All right,
I know.
well, here's what I think is one of the. It may not be the most pressing problem or the most it may not be the most imperative issue at the moment, but I think that Canada suffers from serious issues relating to cultural identity. Since the 1960s, we've had mass immigration policies. We've had policies that that strip us of our former identity as being British loyalists or French, a French colony, and they've essentially stripped us of all the things that our forefounders have believed in to make Canada Canada, essentially. Because Canada was founded basically by British loyalists, to some degree First Nations peoples and French explorers, and that's where our identity lies. But since Pierre Trudeau, the first Trudeau, took power, he changed our national anthem from well, it was the de facto national anthem was the Maple Leaf Forever, which glorified Britain and glorified our past, to O Canada, which is essentially a sterile anthem stripped of any sort of identity, just sort of it conveys this very bland, inoffensive view of Canada. And because of the increasing ethnic heterogeneity of Canada, due in large part to mass immigration, I think that we're losing our identity, our past identity as being a French and British colony, and it's not very pressing for the moment, because I mean we can survive for a good deal of time just being this amorphous blob of a country that has no identity and no values or direction. But I think in the long run, Canadians in particular, are going to become apathetic about the direction this country is taking, what we believe in as a people, and eventually we're just going to be swallowed up by a larger power like the United States or China or some other country. And already I see people in my personal life, they're just so apathetic about politics in general. They don't care about what happens in Canada. They don't care about the future of our country. They don't care about what happens with the economy or with immigration. They just want to live for the moment. And I think that this is in large part due to the erosion of our cultural identity and our history as a country.
Indeed. Bravo. I completely agree with everything you just said.
I say we have a problem with that.
The same thing's happening in North America right now, and the good old land USA, especially when it comes to the Confederacy.
Well, one second. The USA is a lot different than Canada, because there's still a large part of the United States that still believes in...
Yes, I know that. I'm just saying, we tend to be...
War and all that. But here in Canada, most people couldn't tell you the name of our first Prime Minister. Most people don't know about the real. Most people just don't give a fuck about our country. They just see it as being like America 2.0. But whereas in America, people that take America seriously, and even people on the far left, like even
Kevin
some
Logan.
Democrats and communists, they may be like, I love America, I love Thomas Jefferson and Thomas.
No, they think he's an evil. A lot of commies hate, a lot of people, especially retards like Mason. They despise our founding fathers greatly.
Well, I mean, you can't deny that American hard leftists have a very different view of their cultural identity than communists in Germany or France, for example, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
They still see themselves as distinctly American. I mean, the American identity is very salient.
I have a question for everyone in this call, but I would like it to be answered on an individual basis. So the first person that speaks gets to continue, and I'll just call out whoever answers next. But however, what is your opinions on the minimum wage?
I think it should be abolished.
Yeah, I just think it should. I think it
should be abolished.
Yeah, fuck it. It's garbage.
I'd say minimum wage should be replaced with what you basically said. You have the terms, and you have to abide by them. Does it make sense?
Yeah, a government-enforced contract, but the government doesn't really say, oh, the police come in with a shotgun and say, come on, bitches, pay him that amount of money. No, it'd be like okay, you're ripping me off, so we're going to court. That's it. That's basically what we have today, but that's about it. Terms and agreements, yeah, that's what we should have.
Minimum wage
I heard that
was never meant to be a career job.
Minimum wage, and its living standards went way up in a couple of years. So, see the correlation here?
I mean, like, why do leftists like to point out that, like, oh, look at Denmark and Sweden. These countries are proof that socialism works. Sweden has no minimum wage, and they don't even have a maximum wage, like I lied about in my chat with the Free Flow last year. However, they don't have a maximum wage either, and McDonald's employees get paid $23.79 an hour. That's something I like to have.
Well, sure, but as I've said before, what works in one country doesn't always map directly onto, or even at all, onto another country.
Yeah, they choose to do it, though.
Like gun control, for example.
Even within a country like the United States, it would be absurd to oppose a nationwide minimum wage because there's a very different economy in a place like, say, Kentucky than in New York. So it would just be absurd to impose, let's say a $15 minimum wage in like Kentucky or West Virginia, just because it doesn't have the same economy.
I don't want to dox myself, however, the state that I live in is very high in terms of gross state production, which is a bad thing, but the states right above me are lower on the gross
GDP.
state production, GSP. And Texas is number 3, I believe, on GSP, with California being first. So, to compare the economy of South Carolina, not South Carolina, what do you call it? The
South
economy.
Dakota?
No, fuck you. The economy of California with Louisiana is just retarded. You can't compare Louisiana to California, for example.
Yeah, I agree. Which is why people like Bernie Sanders are so.
It's retarded. Dude,
Yeah.
you want?
Hey.
You want? Can I tell you a funny story about okay? I ate a McDonald's once. Don't worry, I'm never going to be as fat as Jason Unruh or Black Cat. So, however, I ate a McDonald's once, and it was during the times where the workers shift between shifts. I don't know how to say it properly, but what happened was when I was eating my food, the workers that were leaving the restaurant, they were flirting with the idea of a $25 minimum wage.
What?
$25 for flipping hamburgers. Let's give them a round of applause.
Well, see, a high minimum wage like that, it's great if you already have a job. But if you're somebody who's looking for work, then it sucks to be you because you're not going to find a job at $25 an hour.
If we raise the minimum wage to $25 an hour, you know what's going to happen? It's just going to it's either going to destroy jobs, or it might even do other insane shit. Like, entrepreneurs aren't dumb. Like for example, if a boss did not want to lose his property and have to pay a really retarded minimum wage, all he would have to do, for example, is turn his business into a co-op, try to get enough money to replace his workers so he doesn't have to pay a shitload of money. He could do a whole bunch of things to make up for it. So, really, I see ANCOMs who favor the minimum wage as a means of getting property owners their property taken away from them because property owners can't afford shit. But they think that, if the property owner is gone, then workers control the means of production. No, when a property owner loses his business, then there's no room for more employment. Those people lose their jobs, which is why private owners losing jobs and increasing inflation, which destroys jobs and the value of the dollar, which results in the Great Depression, by the way, is a bad thing.
Yeah, it also creates a huge black market because people are going to, business owners.
I want to say my thoughts.
Pay their employees under the table rather than.
That's what happened in Chile during Allende. I brought this up.
Yeah, this is my thoughts on minimum wage and what people want for it.
Idiocy.
Here we have a big problem with minimum wage because you have many illegal contracts because people cannot afford this wage to their workers. So it happens a lot of times. These workers persecute their employers, and so people don't hire much anymore, and the enterprise culture, or the business culture, it's going down and down in Brazil. It's a big problem, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's certainly a problem over here. I mean, it's essentially most jobs that I see my friends getting into, even though they're not technically temp jobs, they're essentially temp jobs, and they're treated like, nothing.
I mean, like, if you actually look at statistics regarding people who actually do minimum wage jobs, they're actually a very low percentage of the population. Like, last I checked, only 2% of the American population works at places like McDonald's. I'm pretty sure that number is slightly higher now, and probably even slightly higher if you want to count other jobs as well, but most Americans do not work for a minimum wage. They actually work for a far higher number than that. So it's stupid to raise the minimum wage and risk an increase in inflation when most Americans don't even require a minimum wage. It's retarded. And
yeah, well,
I do want
here's the thing, though. Like, most people who take minimum wage jobs do not work those jobs their whole lives. Yeah, they're teenagers mostly, or young adults who are trying to enter the workplace and gain experience. They're not like people who are going to raise a family of 5 on flipping burgers at McDonald's. Like, that's just not feasible at all.
Wait away. There's a certain stalker that's probably watching this video right now, who I'm not going to mention his name, but he and his boyfriend made a video response to me once. I'm pretty sure you all enjoyed my critique of that video, and they said that I do not understand the cause of inflation. Yeah, I can't wait for them to make a video about what actually causes inflation, when the overwhelming evidence shows that when you force owners to pay for shit they cannot afford, then that is just going to cause inflation, because they have to raise their prices.
Well, actually, the funny thing is that these people who you're talking about, who shall not be named, they have voiced support in the past for states like Zimbabwe that have, like, what, a 5,000% inflation? Which is just insane.
What the fuck?
What a bunch of retards.
Almost as high as the Sweden's rape rate.
The only people who support Zimbabwe are black supremacists like Shango.
Shit.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say that, because during the time of Rhodesia, states like the UK and United States refused to help them out, and they let the entire country be taken over by black communists. So, I mean, to say that the United States has never allowed, communists to take control of countries when it suits their interest is absurd. You just have to point to Rhodesia.
Oh, that's true.
Boy, mate, you're a racist, boy.
Yeah,
imagine if the government
be like
culturally enriched people being thrown from helicopters.
That seems legit, you clown.
That first guy sounds like David.
Africa and European imperialism, I actually have a friend from South Africa. Ever since the Africans there started to get all the jobs, it just turned into a hellhole. Like, there's protests everywhere. People are getting beat in the streets. It's crazy.
Speaking of which, there's this one person from South Africa that I know of, whose name I will not mention, but Delta probably already knows who I'm about to talk about. He is a Muslim theocrat. He advocates for a Muslim theocracy, and he supports the what was that regime that tried to overthrow Assad and later join ISIS? What's their name?
The FSA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Free Syrian Army.
Yeah, not them. It's something the FSA, the Free Syrian Army, yeah. He supports the Free Syrian Army, and he believes that the kind of government they want is what South Africa and other countries should be modeled off of. And he considers himself to be left-wing, and this goes back to leftist hypocrisy. Like, you have leftists saying, "Ew, you're homophobic," but then you have this Muslim douchebag who says that gay people who are caught doing what they want to do should be executed by the state, and leftists don't even flinch about it. They even are friends with this guy. So it's hypocrisy. Like, when a Muslim does it, it's perfectly fine, but when a white straight Christian or atheist does it, it's homophobic.
Oh, someone like Sarah Palin?
It's not rape when a Muslim does it.
Or someone like Palin wants to set up a theocracy. That's terrible and oppressive. But when an Islamist wants to do it, oh, who cares?
Delta knows who I'm talking about.
You're fucking a white male!
Actually, he's not even from South Africa. I think
Race
it's
theory?
Well, now I want to know. Who are you talking about?
I'll just give you the first letter of his name. It's B, and the last part of his name is people. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yep, I know. It's not actually not South Africa. It's Britain.
I'll write it in the text. Nobody can even see it if I write it in the text.
Oh yeah, of course not.
Right there. Don't read it out loud.
I've never even heard of this guy.
Well, personally, I don't believe.
Yeah, he's like a Quetabist, and he has like this.
Yeah, I mean, like, imagine Marxist-Leninism, but with the ideology of ISIS applied to it. Like, they favor...
All right, that's moving now. Moving to Mars.
All right,
They basically...
Sorry, Nero. I think, didn't Cater have something to say?
I did, yes. I was just going to say that I find it strange. I'm not even sure it's hypocrisy so much as it's cognitive dissonance. I don't think that, I don't think when whether they're leftists or whether they're conservative, that they're consciously being hypocrites or consciously being duplicitous most of the time. But it certainly is strange that he would be, if he's a leftist and quite a radical one at that, if he's supportive of communism or communistic principles, that he would be advocating for the taking over and the rebuilding, restructuring of our already sovereign countries. It's very strange.
Yeah, I mean, like, cubitism, I'm saying that wrong, but I don't give a fuck. No, fuck you, cry me a river.
What is this?
Quetabism, which it's...
Whatever. Here's the thing about it. See,
I don't know what it is.
Imagine...
Sorry, can you explain what cubitism is?
Let me explain.
Yeah, I'll explain once people shut the fuck up. Okay. Now, the ideology, however you pronounce it, it's basically it's the belief that there should be a stateless, classless, and moneyless society that consists of self-governing communities operating under Sharia law. And to achieve this society, you need a one-party state that organizes a socialistic-like economy in order to achieve this society. So it's basically what happens when you combine the ideology of ISIS with Marxist-Leninism.
I was going to say something that actually ISIS, they're Wahhabis, which is the same ideology the Saudis. But Quetabism, I don't think is Wahhabism.
But dude, the person who founded the ideology taught. Well, he didn't teach, but
Sayyid Qutb. That's what. Hence Quetabism and shit.
Yeah.
That's where it comes from. I knew that sounded familiar.
He taught the person that taught Osama bin Laden. So the ideological connections between Wahhabism and this ideology is striking. I mean, it's just, to me, is what happens when Wahhabists and Marxist-Leninists have an orgy fest. You get that.
Well, that's why Al-Qaeda is Quetabist, because they picked up from that. Hence, that's why that's part of their ideology of Al-Qaeda.
All right, guys. Let's steer this conversation to a more light.
It's becoming rather esoteric.
We've been on this topic for a while now.
Oh yeah, we're probably gonna have the NSA looking in like, are these people terrorists?
Oh come on, the JIDF is already
of course.
Forces to my house right now. It's a good thing I live in the middle of a frozen wasteland, so it'll take them a couple days to reach me.
Yeah, you'll be able to get out.
We'll be okay for. Yeah. I'll make my escape before the forces bust down my door and arrest me for hate speech. But here, let me ask you a question. It's a bit of a more lighthearted question. So, let's say that your ideal, Pinochet-esque administration gets ushered in, and we'll get to, impose our will upon the people. So, if you were to be a YouTuber out of a helicopter, who would it be, and why?
Can you repeat your question? Your microphone's kind of fucking up right now.
Yeah, my internet connection is garbage, so just bear with me. If you were to throw one YouTuber out of a helicopter, who would it be, and why?
I would probably throw out Delta. I'm just messing. I would probably throw out. In all honesty, there's too many people who I would throw out. People in real life and people online that I would throw out of a helicopter in a heartbeat. So I'm not going to answer this question because I really do not have a proper response to it. Ask someone else. Delta, who would you throw out of a helicopter first?
Well, of course, I'm gonna have to mention him, but Social Democrat. That's one. If I took over Australia, two, probably Mason, because he's maybe, I don't know, maybe, but I definitely would throw out and a bunch of other commies.
Here's the thing, though, Delta. You know, Mason's not so bad because Mason at least lets you comment on his videos. He enables ratings. So
hold up just a second.
Maybe not.
Off to free discourse and debate.
Who is this Mason? I don't know who this
Red
is.
Scare TV.
Red Scare TV.
Well, that's why I said maybe, but now I'm actually gonna say no. He doesn't count.
But now that you bring him up, Social Democrat. I know that you're watching this, by the way. So I'm just gonna address you directly.
Stalking faggot.
Yeah.
Social Democrat.
Your ass.
You have some serious problems, buddy. I don't understand why you have the need to go around banning people from commenting on your videos and disabling the ratings on your videos, because that doesn't show that you're interested in engaging in a discussion or interacting with your audience at all, or receiving constructive criticism on your videos. It just shows that you want to disseminate whatever message you have. And Social Democrat, you know what? This may be a low blow, but if you were a real man, you would address whatever problems you had with us face to face. You would come on this podcast and you would tell us what grievances you have with us, instead of just banning us and silencing any sort of dissent. All right? Because I know that I'm not I don't just speak for myself here. I know that Manuel Ochoa also he's been trying to contact you for a while, and you have him banned. All right? So instead of just being a bitch and just cutting people off, why don't you address your problems like a man and talk to people face to face, okay?
Yeah, exactly. Grow some balls, you beta male.
Telling about the state of masculinity that going on to a podcast and debating.
Well, because it's
now
feminism,
manly.
Dude, it's this feminist bullshit that's destroyed all this masculinity, patriarchy, and oppression.
Genders.
No, that's just.
I
disagree. It's
all a social construct.
There's like 20 million genders. You know what? I'm a genderqueer, transgender to the side.
I identify as a attack helicopter.
Cater, you were getting at something? What was it?
Yeah, that's just a symptom of postmodern relativism. It's just the people not cleaving to their values and to their own cultural identities. People act as if feminism is some kind of great evil, in and of itself, and it isn't, and that's ridiculous. And they focus way too much on it. Like you get all these guys that are really big on YouTube, and that's all they do all day is just make fun of feminists, and they treat it as if it's so serious, and it's really not.
Well, you see like guys like Sargon of Akkad, they just go after low-hanging fruit.
Low-hanging fruit, yeah.
It's easy to make fun of people like what's her name? Big Red, Anti Binks.
I don't know her fucking name either. So.
Yeah, you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Camille Paley.
Shut the fuck up!
Yeah. Like, I'm talking, fuckface. Privilege. Like, I mean, like we could attack those people all day long.
Yeah, we can hit them easy.
But here's the thing. I don't think that feminism is necessarily. It's not deliberately evil. I think it's just sort of.
It's based on ignorance. I mean, I just want to. Let me interject here.
It's a form of cultural nihilism. It basically just denies that there are any sort of distinctions between man and woman. That we need to reduce all sort of heteronormativity to just null. We just need to abolish the patriarchy. We need to abolish
He's
any
got a
sort
strong
of-
hankering for interjection.
Yeah, too much conspiracy.
Yeah.
Let me interject here for a second.
I think it's just like it's just the reason why it's gained so much ground in recent years is because people are just weak and they're unable to fight back against it. It's just.
I mean,
it's
here's the
more
thing,
corruption than it is evil.
Like, for example, like, they're ignorant on biology and evolutionary psychology, for example. Like, I've met feminists who think that evolutionary psychology is just a hoax, but in reality, even if you disagree with evolution in of itself, evolutionary psychology is actually a legitimate field in science when compared to retarded psychology, but that's been affected by political correctness, as the founder of the DNA said once, who's now suffering because of political correctness, by the way, but regardless, like, for example, there was this one study that linked hormones to personal interests, and they put out a whole bunch of toys like dolls, and even toy trucks and stuff like that, and there is like
I've seen that study. They conducted with a bunch of orangutans, and the female orangutans gravitate towards like the dolls, whereas the male orangutans gravitate towards like the guns and the trucks and stuff.
And the conclusion was that hormones are linked to personal interests. Now, in my personal sentiment, there's nothing wrong with going against gender roles for whatever reason, as long as it's not batshit insane, like you think everyone should abolish gender roles because you happen to like some TV show that was originally targeted towards little girls. No, that is not what you should do. There's nothing wrong with that at all. One of the people that I'm friends with, Dresden, said in our live stream that he is a drag queen. Nothing wrong with that in my personal sentiment. You might find it degenerate, but there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're going to say that gender roles are just purely a social construct and there's nothing about evolutionary psychology has anything to do with that, then I just have to say, get off this fucking planet, because that is just retarded.
All right. Oh, wait, Cater,
That's
I know.
crock shit.
Sorry, Cater, I know you had to you wanted to say something, but I just have to interject real quick.
Sure.
I don't think that because social gender roles may be a social construct that's the reason why they need to be abolished. I think that gender roles exist for a reason, and as you say, Nero, they play an evolutionary role because women are the bearer of children, and men, generally, in a pragmatic sense, are the protectors of women and children. So it makes sense why men have to adopt these stoic, strong, protective roles, whereas women should adopt nurturing roles. That's not to say that people who fall outside these gender norms should be maligned or marginalized. I think that if you fall outside certain gender roles, that's great. I mean, that's just your personality. I'm not gonna attack you for that. That's
Says the guy who tried questioning me over a TV show that I like to watch on occasion. But let's not quibble about that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I think this
wait a minute. I think. I mean, like, I don't watch anime or anything, but.
I wasn't talking about anime. There was another TV show.
My Little Pony.
Yeah. Well, I don't watch that shit. But anyway, I think that gender roles and the patriarchy and basically what feminists are constantly complaining about, these are the pillars of civilization. This is what has brought us from being a bunch of knuckle-dragging savages into being an organized civilization. And that to want to get rid of gender roles and to say that patriarchy is oppressive is basically saying that there are no differences between men and women and that we should all just be just this amorphous asexual blob and we should just not it's just basically gender nihilism. Anyway, Nero.
Hold on.
I'll speak in a sec. But
I actually think I did have something I wanted to say, but why don't we let the Gaming Patriot say his piece, because he said he's going to be leaving relatively soon. So I thought we should kind of give him the floor. He hasn't really had much to say.
Sure. Go ahead.
Much time, I should say.
What do you think was the start of the indoctrination of youth in the education system? What do you think caused that? Who do you think was responsible?
Oh, Frankfurt School.
Cultural Marxists.
Degenerates.
Well, I mean, the Frankfurt School was a huge influence on current current education methods for sure. But I think that they're really you can't really point to a definite beginning.
Yeah, there's no one.
But there is
I
nomination.
think during the '60s, when all the draft dodgers and everything fled to Canada, and then they came back and started teaching. And
yeah, because even like no matter how far back you go, whether it's the Enlightenment or the Renaissance or even back to ancient Rome and ancient Greece, you're always going to find people who held similar sort of utopian, egalitarian beliefs as the people who advocate for degeneracy today. It's nothing new at all. This has been going around for thousands and thousands of years. But the Frankfurt School and Antonio Gramsci, this is just sort of this is the intellectual heritage of modern educational degeneracy. That's not to say that it was the start of it.
Yeah, but to comprehend the indoctrination problem, it's fundamental to understand the concept of hegemony of Antonio Gramsci, because what he said to destroy the Western civilization, that it would be the superstructure of the society, of capitalism.
Subvert.
You had to destroy the three columns of this society, which is the religion, Christianism, the Greek philosophy, and the Roman law. And this has been very applied, and all those Frankfurt philosophers have also used his concepts. And the matter of hegemony, it's when you have all the cultural means dominated by the left. Like you have the media, you have the universities. So the first thing is to break up this hegemony.
Intellectual monopolies. Ideological monopolies.
Okay, so you
Destroy
strike
them all.
back in reverse. You do the reverse of what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
The followers of Antonio Gramsci, they basically said that you had to dismantle the cultural institutions that propagated capitalism, like the family, like religion, and all that.
Do they not know that biology has a great influence on culture? Like, why do you think different groups of people have entirely different cultures from each other? Do you think that's just purely a result of personal sentiment? To an extent it does, but to say that biology has no part in what determines what culture you live under, and genetics and hormones have no effect on the kind of culture society you live in, is just retarded.
Yeah, like if you look at certain cultures like indigenous Australians, there's pretty much no way that their culture could have manifested in Western Europe, for example, because people of Western European descent don't share the same ancestry, don't share the same biological disposition towards their culture that the Aboriginal Australians did. So to say that there's no difference between cultures based on genetics is just ridiculous.
Yeah, absolute bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And I bring a more faith-based stuff to some of these things, which some people I know like near them are not gonna like it. So I'm gonna call
and that's why I'm here, ladies and gentlemen. It's not just social justice warriors I target, but regardless. I mean, look. I mean, people can say I'm right-wing, but just go to my channel right now and click on About and read what I have to say on there, because I even say religious fundamentalist or fundamentalist in general. So how am I right-wing when I'm probably going to make even more videos in regards to religion in the future? I was actually planning on targeting this one pastor who says that Pokemon is satanic.
What is it? What, Steven Anderson?
Being fundamentalist doesn't make you right wing, though.
True, but I'm talking about the right-wing religious fundamentalists.
Do you mean like people like Anderson? I freaking hate people like that. Like they're heretics. They teach false beliefs and doctrines, and yet and so many people
no
get
offense to
deceived.
you,
It's
Delta,
ridiculous.
but I tend to find the religious right and social justice community to be quite similar in their tactics and the way they like to organize things. Like, there's this one narrative, and the narratives that both of them like to give out tend to be very similar, in my opinion. Like, oh, this media is oppressing people, or it's encouraging something that I personally do not like, and stuff like that. It's the same narrative, just from a different perspective. And I just
On the individual in this case, because there's many individual like Christians who are like, you know what, there's a lot of even Christians they go after other people within this group or quote unquote in the faith because they teach false stuff. They'll say something that there's just so wrong, and they revise something to be more inclusive to certain groups. And like, no, you have to fucking up on this, and this is messed up.
Even some of the Delta, even some of the exclusive people would be wrong. Like, what's your thoughts on the Westboro Baptist Church? Would you consider them to be true Christians? You know, people who would go to graveyards saying the 9/11 was a good thing because there was gay men in the military?
No, the reason I'd say no, we're supposed to be. We shouldn't be going around just being complete assholes. I know we sound like bigots and dicks already because of the modern postmodernist conception. So we can't really do much to change people's minds on that. But we're not supposed to go around and just say like these vulgar things just to do it. You got pastors like Steve Anderson. That guy's a jackass. He goes around saying like, "Oh, you're a sissy." He just like, and this is why people hate my kind of, you could say, King James Bible believers so much. It's because we're so despised because you get idiots going around. And they think, oh, all of them do that. All of them are these assholes, and they all hate these people for no reason at all. And he kind of just it causes like a collectivist that people apply a very collectivist kind of mindset to it, and they go, "You're bad because this guy's bad." It's no, I don't agree with him, and I think that guy's a heretic, and he should repent and all this stuff.
Delta, thank you for giving me new ideas for video responses. I might look up Steve Anderson.
Oh, that guy's a lunatic. He denied the Holocaust.
Okay, well, I'm probably going to look him up. Thank you.
No problem.
So yeah, I do videos on religious fundamentalists and social justice warriors. They believe that there's idiots on both the left and the right that are just absolutely retarded, and they deserve
of course.
ridicule.
Of course they are.
Yeah, I want to interject here. What Nero said earlier, I think, raises something that we should all keep in our minds. Where you said about you conflated religious fundamentalism with a particular political party, in this case conservatism, and that this is what happens sometimes, even unconsciously, and I think it's quite important when you over-politicize everything, because of course everything isn't political, and I find myself doing this, so I'm not just ranking on Nero, but I just think it's something we should all keep in the back of our minds when we're talking about these kind of subjects.
Sure, I mean, like, people politicize atheism,
Yeah.
Here's one reason why I left the radical left, or people on the radical left I don't like, and that is because,
plus.
yeah, and also they like to exploit people. Like, they don't give a shit about minorities. They just want free welfare, and that will appeal to minorities just to gain support. Like, again, as I said earlier, I would consider myself bisexual, and the thing is, these leftists in particular that I'm not going to mention, they don't give a shit about me. They just want to use me as a political ploy. They want to politicize my interests just to further their agenda, which, in my opinion, their agenda is stupid. In my viewpoint, religion and sexual orientation, your gender identity, these things should not influence your political or social views. Your political and social views should be based purely on logic and reasoning, and that is what I personally believe. I believe that what you personally believe in should be based on what the overwhelming evidence says, and not what political correctness or religious retards, or the lack thereof, because there are retarded atheists out there.
Okay, but Nero, let me just interject. The thing is, like, the left will constantly say that they value, freedom of sexuality. They're against the discrimination against homosexuals and bisexuals and all that jazz. But as you say, they're more than happy to throw people like yourself under the bus if somebody else comes along with a more special snowflake sexual identity who contradicts you. Like if somebody comes along and says that, you know, they identify as a tomato and they're sexually attracted to, you know, black people who are addicted to PCP, then, you know, they're more willing to grant them deference than to you. And I think that this is indicative of the left's constant need for victimhood status, because that's really how the left has gained so much ground in recent years, is because they've ascribed themselves with this victimhood status, like, woe unto us, we are so oppressed, we are so marginalized by the patriarchy or the white man or whatever it may
Or Christianity or whatever.
Or Christianity. So please give us free stuff, please give us sympathy in order for us to, you know, gain power and influence. And that's essentially what they're all about. They don't. These are the people on the hard left who push for identity politics. They're the most racist. They're the most homophobic. They're the most intolerant people of all. Because as you said, Nero, they don't give a shit about the plight of somebody who's homosexual or the plight of somebody who's black. Or
I mean, if they did, then they wouldn't be against dissent that happens to be a part of the minorities that they claim to support. For example, wait a minute. I just want to just let me finish this. For example, one big chunk of San Francisco, which is a safe haven for gay people, like, if you want all the gay degeneracy, then go to San Francisco. But guess who they banned because of his conservative views, even though he's gay? It's their favorite conservative faggot, Milo Yiannopoulos. San Francisco almost completely banned him because he's gay, but guess what? He is not some douche who follows hard-left politics. No, he's a flat-out conservative.
Yeah, I'll give you another example that's more obvious. Is the assaults that have taken place in Europe throughout the past months. For instance, the left will say that they value women's rights, they value, you know, sexual liberation and all that jazz. Yet the moment a person of color decides to harass a woman in public and rape her, they're just going to turn the other cheek because they pay more deference to the plight of a person of color than they do to a woman.
If you saw my video, the 8 glaring contradictions of the left, I brought this up. They stand up for women's rights, except when Muslim men rape them.
Yeah, exactly. I think that this is what's going to be the death knell of feminism in the West. It's because people are going to realize that these so-called progressives and feminists, they don't give a fuck about women's rights. They couldn't care less. It's all about political power for them. What they care about is upholding people's sympathy, they hold up the person's plight and they say, look at this poor person, whether it be an immigrant or you know, a homosexual or whatever, and they say, look how terrible this is. You know who's responsible? Rich white straight men. They're the
With only $1 a day, you could feed a starving child in Africa.
Yeah.
Why aren't you?
They do not preach women's rights. They just preach white genocide.
Yeah, and people are going to realize that the left doesn't actually care about women or homosexuals or any of these people. They just want political power. And that's going to be the reason why why I believe that people are going to reject this philosophy in the long run, because it's ideologically bankrupt. These people don't actually believe what they say they believe in.
I'm going to say one thing, because of course, I know you could say I'm on the religious right, you could say, for a number of reasons. I'm not saying I am, but I know a lot of people would place me there for certain reasons. If I know people like myself, they'd persecute people like me because I will hold my ground and I will not be like some other, because you have a lot of liberal Christians, they'll just fall over if they're getting they go, oh, you're a homophobe, fall over and accept it. I'm like, no, I don't care. I'm going to stick to what I believe, no matter what. So they'd probably have me shot or thrown in a camp and tortured or whatever because I don't agree with them. And there's probably a lot of people who will face the same fate who are like myself in their kind of ideal society.
I think that in many parts of the West, I think that religious people face the same amount of discrimination as homosexuals or black people or
Sweden mainly
women or anybody else.
I mean, let's not forget the attempts to crack down on fundamental human rights by the LGBT to satisfy their need for safe spaces. For example, even when I was in SJW, I thought the idea of gay people forcing pizza parlors to serve them is retarded. If you don't like the fact that the pizza parlor does not want to serve your gay wedding, go find another pizza parlor. And you know what? It's the same for, let's say, hypothetically speaking, a gay man owns a bakery and there's a Christian couple that wants a cake or a pizza for their wedding. Okay, this gay man hates Christians and he doesn't want to give you cake, so go fuck off and go somewhere else. It's the same applies for everyone. Freedom of association is a right. It's considered a human right, although not very protected by the United Nations, by the Constitution. But you know what? You have people on the religious right and SJWs who want to deny these freedoms just so they can feel comfortable. You know, stuff like that.
This is like here's a huge example of hypocrisy on the hard left. Is that they will like when a private organization like Facebook or Twitter denies the right of a right winger to voice their opinion, they applaud that. They say like, oh yeah, you shouldn't be so bigoted and hateful. But then again, when a private business like a bakery denies the right of a homosexual couple to have a cake made for them,
they lose their minds.
Yeah, they go insane. They're like, oh, how dare you not bake a cake for this?
I don't approve of this. This is fascism. This is racist.
I'll make a joke.
It's homophobe.
You know what? I'm going to make a Joker meme about that. You know that Joker meme?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
When Facebook bans right-wingers, everyone is fine. But when a bakery refuses a gay couple a wedding cake, everyone loses their minds.
Yeah, I know which meme you're talking about. I've seen that before.
Yeah, of course they do, because they're idiots.
I'm gonna make that meme.
Yeah, if I basically said this, like a bunch of homos came in, they'll say my pizza parlor, and I told them like get the fuck out, like I have like just edgy Deus Volt, get the fuck out of my bakery. They'd probably give me for hate speech.
Yeah, and you claim I'm edgy.
They don't care. They don't care about giving rights to homosexuals as much as they care about tearing down heteronormative standards. For instance, there's like I know some of you are gonna roll your eyes at this, but there's a quote by Ayn Rand in her book The Fountainhead, where she says, well, actually it's through another character named Ellsworth Tuhey, who says that in order to don't get rid of shrines because you'll scare people. What you have to do is enshrine mediocrity, and all the shrines will destroy themselves. Because once you've set mediocrity as the standard to live up to, then greatness is no longer seen as greatness. It's just seen as, whatever.
The perfectly selfless man. Yeah, I remember that passage actually.
Yeah.
That's a good book.
Yeah, actually, I much prefer The Fountainhead to Atlas Shrugged.
Atlas Shrugged, yeah, but I always say that. It's so much better.
The Fountainhead is so much better.
Atlas Shrugged is just so bloviating, and she just repeats herself over and over again.
Yeah, it's much more like Atlas Shrugged is very preachy. It's very political, and it's the whole book is basically a thinly veiled political diatribe delivered in fiction. Whereas The Fountainhead is actually it actually has characters and character development and a character arc where you can sympathize with people. And just the message overall, I believe, is more digestible than Atlas Shrugged. And I tend to sympathize more with Ayn Rand's views about aesthetics than I do about her views about economics and politics.
Yeah, me too.
Have you read Ayn Rand's The Romantic Manifesto?
No, I haven't, but I should probably get around to doing so.
Seriously consider it, because it's basically it's a collection of all her essays about art, and where she talks about what her definition of art is, and why she believes that modern art and all sorts of degenerate art are lesser than romantic art.
Guys, look in the chat.
What chat?
the chat for this hangout, because whenever you start a hangout, there's always a chat room so people can text.
Yeah, it always creates it. It's fucking bullshit. I'm sick of it.
Yeah. Could you guys look in the chat, like including you, Ethan? You know what I'm talking about.
Sure. I actually don't see a chat.
Oh, on Google Hangouts. Okay. Yeah, when a website bans right-wingers, everyone loves it. When a bakery refuses leftists a cake, everyone loses their minds. Absolutely true.
Yeah.
But then again, leftists aren't everyone.
Well, they're definitely a vocal minority of people.
And they still get a lot of support in there.
I mean, like,
Before we get to this tangent, just 1 second. I just wanted to recommend to Vlad, you should read Evela's writings on aesthetics. That was quite interesting.
Yeah, I'll look into that.
Yeah.
Well, could you recommend any title in particular?
Shit.
Guys, I'm gonna go, alright?
What did you say?
What?
Alright, talk to you later.
Come on, Centerite. Stay for another. Like, I'm only gonna have this stream on for another like maybe 20 minutes. So can you stay till the end?
All right.
He's a trooper.
Thanks, man.
I think
All right,
this is.
Sorry, Peter, finish your thought.
Yeah, you can go carry on. I'm just looking it up. I have all his books, so I couldn't remember what it was called.
In all honesty, I think this is the best shit posting we've done so far.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one.
It's not a shit posting. It's a Jimmy wrestling.
Yeah,
What's
it's
the
not really.
difference?
It's
right in a shit posting, we still rustle some Jimmys. For example, somebody whose name I will not mention made a 12-minute video about how his Jimmys were rustled and responded to a 3.5-hour video.
Yeah, about how we were obsessed with him, and it's like, yeah, says the guy who literally watches our videos, downloads them, and makes retarded responses.
Yeah, and the thing is, the people watching this need to bear in mind that this man is not subscribed to any of us. He doesn't agree with our views. He hates our guts completely. But the thing is, why would he watch a 3.5-hour long video of ours if he wasn't obsessed with us?
Okay, yeah, Social Democrat. Since I know you're watching, I'm addressing you directly again. Okay, I watch your videos, dude. Okay, you seem to think that
Benji's in here.
That's okay. You see,
that's okay.
Sorry, shut up for a sec. You seem to think that the fact that I watch your videos means that somehow I'm obsessed with you. All right, dude. I watch a lot of YouTube videos. I don't think you realize this. I watch your videos. I watch a ton of videos from channels that I don't agree with in the slightest. All right, does that mean I'm obsessed with Red Scare TV or Manuel Ochoa? No.
Are you obsessed with Angelo John Gage?
No, I'm not obsessed with Angelo John Gage. I just watch his videos because I find them entertaining. Just because I find Social Democrat 01's videos to be entertaining on some level, so I watch them. I also watch his streams. Does that mean I'm obsessed with them? No. But the fact that he watches my videos and he makes responses to them, and he says, "Oh well, yeah, you're the one who's obsessed with me. You're constantly harassing me." No, dude. You watch my videos. I know that you do. Okay? I know that you watch my streams. I know that you follow my channel. Yet you're not subscribed to me. You pretend like you don't give a fuck about me. You pretend like, oh, I'm just some sort of bigoted right winger. Yet you seem to be totally fixated on my channel. Dude, get over it, alright? I watch your videos, you watch my videos. Who the fuck cares, alright? Get over it.
But the thing is, like, I don't know how the hell could anyone have the patience to sit down for 3.5 hours straight.
Well, to be honest,
making these?
To be honest, I watch a lot of 3-hour podcasts.
I do too.
I watched a 6-hour one once because I was bored, there was nothing to do, it was raining outside, and I didn't feel like getting crushed by the wind, so I just laid down, turned up my phone, and I listened to a 6-hour live stream, and it was hilarious. There's nothing wrong with watching long videos, there's nothing inherently wrong about that. Some people do have the patience to watch long videos. I do if it's entertaining, but I just want to say one thing about Social Democrat, and it's this. you're a hypocrite. Like, in your video response to me with your boyfriend Angry Bastards, you accused me of making ad hominem attacks, yet you said that I am an idiot, and I always will be, and I always have been, even when I was on your side. So, and yeah, that's ad hominem by your logic, and when I make ad hominem, it's just my lazy way of being funny. But you make serious insults against me, and you think you have the right to accuse me of ad hominem attacks? Get a life, you stupid prick.
Social Democrat 01 strikes me as the kind of guy who just holds a grudge for no apparent reason.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, even when the person he holds a grudge against apologizes and says, "Hey, look, man, I was just kidding. Forget about it." He still says,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, this is utter idiocy." You know?
Yeah, he said this. Shut it down.
Like, even when like Manuel was trying to be cool with him again, he was just like, "Oh,
They have no brains, no education, and no.
Yeah, that's what he was like. He's just full of shit. Actually, I'm
Vlad, I remember what I wanted to recommend to you about art.
Okay.
If that's fine, I'll just be brief.
Actually,
if you wanted something extensive, I'd go for the Futurism and Anthology, or if you just, short. I don't know if you've ever read Marinetti's Futurist Manifesto. I did a reading of it on my channel actually, but it's really interesting. I'd recommend you looking into him.
Yeah, I've heard of that the Futurist Manifesto before. I haven't read it though, so I'll definitely check that out. Thank you.
Sure.
You should just for future reference.
Yes.
Judging by your videos and what you've said in the past, I think that you would really enjoy Ayn Rand's Romantic Manifesto.
Yeah, well, I'll look into it.
Yeah, of course.
yeah." Especially since we were discussing art in one of my alt-right podcasts.
Oh yeah, that's when I came in.
Yeah.
I wish I was in there. I would be talking about MLP Rule 34. I'm just kidding. But yeah. By the way, speaking of which...
Sorry, 1 second, Nero. Ethan, next time you have an alt-right podcast, you should invite me on, if I'm available.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. It's like, it's only if you're on at 1 or 2 a.m.
Well, sometimes I'm on at 1 and 2 a.m. It depends on the day.
Adrian's always on at 1 and 2 p.m. because it's like the afternoon where he lives. I can see that sunlight in your room.
Yeah, sorry, Adrian, what time is it where you are?
Right now it's 2 p.m.
Wow.
Yeah, it's the afternoon right there. Well, it's nighttime where I live. I can see the stars right now. Meanwhile, I can see the sunlight on your end.
The video already has 2 dislikes. We already know who did it.
Yep. That seems legit, you clown.
The fact that it has dislikes, like the fact that it has dislikes means that we actually did wrestle some jimmies, and mission accomplished, guys.
Yeah.
Very proud of yourselves.
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say what I said to Delta, and here's the thing. You're probably gonna say, "Oh, Brendan or Nero, you need to stop being immature. You need to stop mocking people and ridiculing and degrading them." Well, guess what? The whole point of me doing that is to not only wrestle the jimmies of who I'm responding to and their supporters, but it's because I find it funny. I am a walking penis. Deal with it. That's my style.
A walking dick.
Yes.
Your eloquence is astounding, Nero.
Nero, you realize that these people who are against you, they're just going to accuse us of being...
a pack of trolls.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I really couldn't give a shit because in the end, as long as I cause drama, they're gonna make video responses, and that's why I'm here. I'm here to create entertainment in several different ways. And you know what? Me being a dick in my videos, being immature, and not growing up, as Delta would like to say, that's just my way of entertaining people. And causing drama just creates more video content. So in the end, I'm creating entertainment, and that's the entire point of YouTube. The entire point of YouTube is not about respect. It's about entertainment factor. And you know what? I really couldn't care less about these people's criticisms of me.
Hey, and everyone watching this also need to listen to this. If you don't believe us that that person who we speak of is obsessive or a stalker, all you have to do is speak to Sargon, and he himself will tell you.
And speak to us.
Or speak to me. He's
Or
pretty
us.
obsessive with us. He dislikes our video, and
Speak to us.
Well, either way,
AUS.
gentlemen, I was gonna go, but I have work to do tomorrow. But I wanted to thank you, Vlad, very much for having me on, and the rest of you gentlemen for speaking with me. And I would like to say,
it was a pleasure to have you on.
oh, thank you.
That's great.
I just would like to say one thing though, Nero. The only point of YouTube is not just entertainment. I learned tons of stuff from YouTube, so hopefully there's a good mix of entertainment and enlightenment.
Yeah, I mean, I plan on giving. I will use sources in my videos if it's a serious topic. Sure, if I think the person I'm responding to is an absolute retard, like Tori the Queer, I'm probably going to watch her without mercy, but you know what? I'm also going to cite sources. Like, I might call her an idiot, I might say horrendous things, but here's the thing, I'll also give sources like...
Tori the Queer.
I've never even heard of this person.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Give me a link to this person's channel. I'd like to probably respond to some points if...
She defines herself as a genderqueer social justice advocate.
By the way, I will see you later, gentlemen.
She sounds like
You're an incredible faggot. Marxist socialist trash retarded.
She says she's genderqueer?
Jesus fucking Christ.
Terrible. That's off one of the guys at the Daily Show. Cause he's like, can you rate kiss like some Jew trademarks? And you just like, bam.
She claims
Beta cuck faggot losers.
She claims that there's no institutional protections for black people, but I actually stumbled across an article thanks to the Naked Ape. I'm pretty sure some of you watch his videos, but it was an article by the Washington Blade, which is a left-wing website, by the way, and they discovered and proved that cops are more likely to shoot white people than black people for reasons such as fear of being called racist. And they also proved on another article that most deaths that were perpetuated by police officers have been proven to be in self-defense, including 30% of police killings is in response to someone drawing a gun. I mean, if a black man pulls out a mini Uzi on a cop, you think the cop should just take it? No, fuck that shit. Shoot that black guy.
Okay, yeah, that's the thing, that Black Lives Matter always make a huge stink about people like, what's his name, who got
Michael
shot.
Brown, man,
Tamir Rice, who got shot for holding a pellet pistol at a cop. And here's the thing, if you look at the FBI crime statistics, statistically, white people are more likely to be killed from holding a toy gun than a black man. Yet you never hear about any of those instances of cops gunning down innocent people. It's only when it's black people, because that provides that satisfies their political narrative. But when it's a white guy who pulls out a pellet pistol and the cops gun him down, nobody gives a fuck. So that just shows that Black Lives Matter. They're not scientific. They don't care about statistics. They're just trying to satisfy their own ideological agenda and further their own political power, which is disgusting.
It's Black Lives Matter.
Didn't do lives matter. I have something to say about these kind of people.
You win a bullet in your fucking skull. Yeah, that's the prize, moron.
You know what? You
Hey,
Andrea, are you a big fan of that banana?
We should take these Black Lives Matter people, just like
pull him to his knees, put a shotgun in his mouth.
Yeah, there's a lot of things these people win.
Oh, you better watch out, nigga.
People gotta get thrown in fucking helicopters.
You know, no. Here's what they're gonna do to you now, Vlad. They're gonna threaten you, and they're gonna probably come to your house with a KFC gun, and they're gonna shoot your ass with fried chicken and sell you LSD if you survive.
Well, actually, that doesn't really bother me because I like fried chicken and LSD.
You an helicopter ride.
It's very popular here in the South. Yes, I'm technically a redneck, but regardless, I do.
You're an incredible faggot. Marxist socialist trash retarded.
I'm bisexual, and I'm telling everyone this right now. You need to try out restaurants like Chick-fil-A and stuff like that. Whatever sells the best fried chicken, because even if these places are Christian or whatnot, they still serve good food. Just saying.
Yeah, I don't care. I would go to a communist restaurant if they had good food.
Yeah, I mean, like, has anyone ever been to a Chick-fil-A if you live in the United States?
Yeah, there are no Chick-fil-A's in Canada, so I've never been to one.
They have some pretty good fries.
Yeah.
I think they're Mormons or some shit like that. I don't know.
No, I actually own the book written by the owner about the restaurant, and he identifies as a non-denominational Christian.
Oh.
No, I think actually a Southern Baptist. I'm not sure. I forgot.
Baptist.
But...
Okay.
All right, guys. I know some of you have to. All right, guys, shut up. All right, I know some of you have to leave right now, so I'm gonna end this.
Well, I don't have to go on. The only reason why I was...
Okay, everyone, shut up. I'm gonna give everybody a short conclusion. So if everybody would like to have some last words, you can go ahead. Starting with Center-Right Alliance. What would you like to say?
Well, I just like to say that Pinochet is a personal hero of mine, and that all commies deserve to be thrown out of helicopters.
Yeah, as Christopher Cantwell the Great would say,
these people got to get thrown out of fucking helicopters.
All right.
Go back to your safe spaces.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, Nero.
Okay, first off, Ethan, you are an autistic Mexican for coming up with a name like Center-Right Legion. You're not a legion or an alliance. You are an individual. But I mean, it would make sense, but you refer to yourself as an alliance. I'm just saying, it makes it look like a sad.
He's not Mexican though, so that's where it also falls apart.
He's a Cuban.
To be fair, he uploads content from a lot of people, so he is kind of a federation.
But he calls himself an alliance, like when he says, "Hello, guys, this is the Center-Right Alliance," even when he's.
Because I'm the main guy.
I'm just saying that kind of makes it look like a sad faggot. Now, Delta, I will not stop being immature. Andrian, I know you're not there, but if you listen in the end, you did really enjoy eating that banana. And that's all I really have to say on the matter. Oh, and I hope everyone who watched this got offended. I hope you cry me a river. And if you don't like this video, then there's this. You could use rope or bleach or something. I don't know. If you truly hate this planet to the point where you'll get offended by us, then, oh well, we need less idiots on this planet anyway. Oh, fuck, I just offended more people. I don't really have to say on the matter.
All right. So, just because Adrian's not here, I'll skip to Delta USA. What would you like to
I'd like to say, like how Ethan said, Pinochet was his hero. I'd view Francisco Franco, the leader of the Spanish state, to be a hero of mine, along with many other fascist leaders, for what they did and the courage they had to stand up to the left. And I know to somebody who hates Franco because of misogyny, I have to say this. And a good day. Have a good day.
They have no brains, no education, and no future.
Hypocrisy.
And I forgot this to him.
Nice. Heil, Delta. All right, Danilo, what would you like to continue with?
What?
What would you like to say?
What would you like to finish this? What would you like to finish this broadcast? I just sounded British there. Broadcast off with. Like, what's your conclusion?
Yeah, my conclusion. I don't know. I don't have. I don't have one.
Okay.
All right.
It was discussed many subjects.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
Well, I mean, I hope you had a good time. I hope you can.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not too talkative today. Actually, I'm a little busy with.
That's all right, man. Like, I'm not too talkative either, but you know.
Yeah, neither am I.
I used to talk more.
No, that's okay. Well, I hope you can join us for another broadcast. It was great having you on. I guess Lev Life and Anarchy is not present at the moment, so I'll just skip over him. Anyway, I thank you all, listeners and participants alike, for joining us for Thursday night Jimmy Wrestling. And I hope everybody's Jimmys were thoroughly wrestled this evening. And I think that Mr. Soros is still here. His throat is very sore, but he would like to say a few words.
We must exterminate the white race.
Anyway,
the borders of Europe.
Wait, guys, I can hear Adrian coming.
All right. Well, I'll give him a few seconds. If he doesn't show up in the next minute.
Well, let's count to.
I was gonna say.
Let's count to.
Skype or something to contact to talk sometimes.
I have Skype. Do you want my Skype?
Yeah, put it on chat.
I'm gonna say this to piss off Social Democrat. For allegiance to God and country. and family.
Yeah.
So fuck
If,
you
if,
guys
if
on the
you need
left.
to contact, if you need to contact me, you can just either send me a message on YouTube or Twitter or pretty much anywhere. I'm available.
Yeah. Do you have
Also-
YouTube channels?
Sorry?
Also,
Sorry, what did you say, Danilo?
Do you have YouTube channels?
Yeah, I only have one YouTube channel. It's Vladivostok 3701.
Yeah.
Danilo, I can send you the link on Facebook.
oh, by the way, I'm planning on updating my computer or getting a new one. However, if you want to at least eventually play against me in Team Fortress 2, then add me on Steam. Yeah.
All right. At that note, I'm going to end this broadcast. Thank you,
Sorry,
everybody.
Adios, mi general.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Adios, mi general. I'll see you.
Yeah.
I'll see everybody next month. Thank you again.
Hey, bye.
Good
Bye,
night.
guys.